All right, we are here with Keep It Rollin' podcast, episode 6. We just got done with our competition class. I'm Kyle Perkins. I'm here with Joey Deal.
Yes.
And I'm here with Jay Perez.
Close.
Oh, damn.
Perez.
Okay.
Jay
That's pretty
Perez.
common.
Jay, what does J stand for? Tell me.
Joey.
Oh, he's a Joey.
I'm a Joey.
I did not know you were a Joey.
I'm another Joey. Yeah.
And you could tell me, Kyle, if this is true, but have you ever met a Joey you didn't like?
No, I haven't met a Joey. Let me think here. I got to actually think.
Honestly, have you ever met a Joey that you're like, fuck that guy? Every Joey in the world is pretty cool.
I don't know. We'll have to do a gathering of the Joeys. We'll see if they're cool.
So I showed Kyle this. There's this thing. Was it called the Gathering of the Kyles?
Gathering of the Kyles.
I think it was
can't
called
believe I missed it.
Yeah, there's this event. I guess it happens every year. Maybe it was the first time.
It's happened for centuries. Okay.
This guy, I found it because this comedian named Kyle Gordon, and he posted this video of him like doing a speech, like a motivational speech at the Gathering of the Kyles. And it was the most Kyles ever in one place. And I sent it to Kyle. And, like, it's true. All Kyles are the same. They're all, like, kind of cool. They're mortal enemies to the Zacks.
Uh-huh.
Zach versus Kyle.
I did not know this.
Yeah,
Zach's
yeah.
and Kyle.
If you see a Zach and a Kyle in the same room, you know they're going to fight.
Yeah, don't bring a Zach around me, all right?
Because they both think they're the funniest.
But we all know.
Kyles. So, yeah, I think I've never met a bad Joey.
No?
Yeah, I mean, you're cool.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Why do you go by Jay?
Just growing up, my mom, she called me JJ.
JJ.
Yeah, I was a JJ growing up. And a lot of my friends, when I got into high school, they're like, well, JJ sounds like a
Little
kid's
kid.
name.
Yeah.
Like, we got to drop.
I think it's adorable. I like
We gotta
didn't
drop
mind
one of
it.
those
I didn't mind
J's.
it. Yeah, they dropped one of the J's, and it just kind of stuck. And
now you spell it out, though.
now I spell,
J-A-Y.
yeah.
I think that's appropriate.
You know what that reminds me of?
Yeah.
The Simpsons. Do you remember The Simpsons? Did you like The Simpsons?
I didn't watch much Simpsons.
I was
no.
a big
love
obsessive
The
fan.
Simpsons,
Do you remember
yeah.
Homer?
Yes.
His middle name?
Yes, Homer J. Simpson.
He's
and
Homer
it's-
J. Simpson, spelled out J.
Okay.
Everyone thought it was like J.
there's Homer- I
Homer
like
J.
that.
Simpson. But
Well, then it's still J for short.
yeah,
I like that.
Homer
I like
J.
that.
Simpson.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you're a J. But I will say my brother was a JJ growing up. He was John. So JJ, I think, is an awesome name. So I might call you JJ.
If you
once in a
do,
while.
that's fine.
You cool with it?
I will be able to
I
respond
don't want you to be
it. Yeah.
insulted or think you're
No,
a child.
not at
We're
all.
bringing back his childhood nickname.
I think JJ's badass.
Everybody in my family still calls me JJ.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's mostly the people that are like at work or here.
Professional is
professionalism.
J.
There's J.
Which
Coach J,
I had no idea
J,
he was
yeah.
a Joey. You
I
know?
didn't either. Yeah,
Yeah,
surprising.
So us Joeys need to stick together. We're good people. So what about today?
Yeah. So how are your roles today,
That's
Jay?
our
So we
first
just got
question
done with
always.
our
Yeah,
we got done with our competition class. Who'd you partner up with?
I partnered up with Ronnie.
Ronnie?
Yep.
Awesome.
Ronnie the Rat.
Ronnie the Rat. Yes.
We love Ronnie.
He's really good.
Really good?
He's scrappy. He does not make anything easy on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have
He'll
some
push you.
history.
Yeah.
We
So they
do.
competed against each other.
First they competed playfully here at our white belt bash, which
Correct.
was fun.
Yeah,
That wasn't
was a
playful.
blast.
It wasn't playful.
It wasn't playful after
It was
a while.
rough,
Yeah.
but they actually competed in a live tournament at the ADCC Open.
That was neither playful either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ronnie had a legendary slam. Oh no, you slammed Ronnie.
Yes. It was. Okay.
It was so. There's a lot of controversy about this. So I didn't get to see it live. That I was running around coaching and
Right.
stuff. But I heard the rumors of it. Like Kenny told me about it. Everyone was telling me about it. Like, man, Jay's an asshole. Jay slammed Ronnie. And like, so in my head, I imagined it really bad.
Right.
But then I actually got to watch it. It wasn't that bad.
was a good
it
takedown.
was a good, clean takedown.
Thank you, yeah.
But everyone was like, man, Jay slammed
Yeah.
Ronnie. Like, what an asshole.
He wouldn't go down.
And be like,
Yeah, go
like
down,
all I
Ronnie.
wanted was for them to go do a good match and not tire each other out. But what I
Correct.
heard was it was like a rough match.
It started off very playful in a sense where we were just kind of hand fighting, trying to feel each other out, getting the nervousness out in a sense.
Because it was the first match of the day, too.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's another person in their bracket.
We got
so
one more
three
guy in our
people.
bracket that came from Detroit.
Okay.
So I don't know, just in the mindset, like we want to represent, we want to make sure that Chicago guys are gonna win. But yeah, so Ronnie and I were going, and the ref tells us we need some action. So that right there, I think both of us just kind of got into the mindset like, oh shit, we gotta
do
go.
something.
We gotta go. So right when that happened, both of us just kind of went at it. And when I started to feel him push, I started to push a little bit more,
Right.
made him push a little bit more. Next
And
thing
Ronnie's
I know,
tough.
Yeah, he's
So
a tough
I think
guy.
with Ronnie,
he is strong.
we'll say too with Ronnie. I think it's fun to talk about people when they're out here. It's easier. So with Ronnie, with
less pressure.
we can say whatever we want.
Right.
With Ronnie's super strong. He's a very physical guy. He's a smaller weight like us.
Yep.
But I think he's really strong. Like weird, not like the like weight room strong. He's like work strong.
Yeah,
Correct.
he's like construction
strong,
Yep,
right?
very strong grip, yeah.
So like he's got like that like sinewy like toughness to him. It's
Yep.
hard to like move him around, but he's not super technical. And sometimes that's like the hardest people to like move and
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
if they're smooth and technical, it's like if they're not that strong, or even if they're strong, they move smooth. But he's rough, so
Oh,
he's
yeah,
hard
yeah.
to take down. I mean, yeah. So I know that's
no
probably
easy
why
feat.
that slam
Right.
happened the way it did.
Exactly, yeah.
It was stiff.
It was
How was tonight?
tonight was good. Yeah, I really enjoyed on how
Do you feel like Ronnie's making some progress?
I do. Yeah, he was gone for I think like a week. And
A
a
week,
half.
yeah. He was in Florida
You-
for a little bit.
but yeah, he came right back and didn't seem like he missed a beat. You know, his endurance was still there, his strength was still there, and like you said, his technique is, you know, a little bit
Getting better and better.
Yeah. So I can start to see when I'm doing something to him, like say I'm doing like a sweep, and I try to do it again later on in the round. He became aware of it, and he's like, "Nope, not this time." So he wasn't just falling for the same trap over and over again. He was like seeing where, oh, Jay's got this new move. I better shut that down. So yeah, he's a great partner to roll with because he doesn't just lay over for you, and
That's for sure.
Yeah, he definitely learns pretty quickly on the fly of, you know, I need to make sure I'm stopping some of these moves.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
it's
are
really
you working on right now? So obviously we're working as a school. We're all doing a lot of back attacks right now.
Correct. Yep.
Like our back system is kind of the focus. So obviously that was a part of it. But is there anything outside of that you're kind of focusing on?
Yeah. So outside of hand fighting, I think that's always like the main thing that I'm always trying to get better at with my
From a standing
just
position?
wrestling. Yeah,
Yeah.
Is making sure that
Very
I'm-
important.
Yeah, my stance is good. I'm not coming out with wide elbows. You know, not letting people shoot on me easily. But I'd say for
I know we've been focusing on
Yes,
that. You and I
yes,
personally.
you and I have
We've been doing lots
yeah,
of
you've
stand-up
been-
work together,
Okay.
getting ready for next week.
Nice.
And that's been the main focus is me and him just doing hand fighting all the time.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fun. That's helped my game so much.
Cool.
But just always trying to get to the north-south position and then sideline position.
Nice.
So those are the areas that I'm really trying to up my game with a little bit more. I feel like when I'm passing, I'm getting to side control, but they're getting that knee and elbow connection. And for me, like with a little bit more of my athleticism from baseball, like I feel like, okay, I got quick feet. I can move to the north-south position really fast.
Wait,
and
you
then-
said something athleticism from baseball.
From baseball.
We're gonna
I feel
have
like we have some history.
You guys been talking about
Episode
baseball.
3, we said baseball is not a sport.
I am here
No.
to stick up for it.
Yeah, no, I will. I agree with that sentiment from side control. I struggle playing like a standard side control sometimes, so I tend to go
I would
more
say
north
Kyle,
south. And
Yeah.
So me and Kyle actually have pretty diametrically opposed side control games.
yeah,
I'm very front facing with far side underhooks and cross faces, and you're very south facing.
yeah.
More north south hip checks and
Yep.
reverse cross faces. If those terminologies make sense, you know what I'm talking about?
Slightly, yeah, I'm
Yeah, so
following.
like I'm more in that direction, heading towards the head and getting good cross faces.
Right.
And it sounds like you're saying that you want to get a little bit more familiar with going south.
Correct.
Where your feet go above your partner's head and your
Correct.
head faces towards their feet.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that will give you a lot of entries into that sideline
Yeah.
scenario.
And-
from both, you can do it from the underhook and you can do it from there. But remember that idea of like the reverse overhook.
Yes.
Right, so that's going to be a big part of that. If you want to start moving towards north-south and you want the sideline position, I think it's really important you start thinking about how does your arm connect to your partner's far shoulder.
Right.
If you start weaving that in, that's going to give you that pull to get them on their side.
That's a big part of my whole side control game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
great at
usually
them.
like trying to keep their posture so their head down. So I haven't really played around with that.
Reverse overhook.
Yeah,
That's
so
really
that
big.
sounds like something that I'm gonna have to.
So I was
Yeah,
thinking
we'll play
too. I
with
mean, as someone who has, you have a really good back game already. I mean, I remember rolling with your
He's got really
hooks
good
are very
hooks,
good, really
yeah.
good control. So, did you have any real benefit with this week of the hand trapping stuff and all that stuff? Did you feel like a big benefit into your game with this week?
Definitely, 100%.
I'll say, last night we were training and he choked the hell out of me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he had a really good. I mean, it was all like I'm playing around. I'm trying to get like my head to the floor, and I was going to the overhook side.
Okay.
And he did awesome. Like it was exactly everything we've been doing. Just his hand trapping, top hand position.
Yes,
I was
yeah.
gonna say. Yeah, it was really. I mean, I can tell it's gotten. It's like your attacks have gotten better now. I think you were already pretty good at holding the back.
Right.
And a lot of that comes from Jay, and we're going to talk about this a bunch. Jay's background with just mobility. He's like a strength and conditioning coach. A lot of it's mobility focused. And I can tell that ability for you to use your hips and your ankles, even like the way your ankles hook well.
Hooks are abnormally strong.
Very abnormally strong, yeah. In a good way.
Yeah.
You're abnormal. Us Joeys are all abnormal. I think you already had a pretty solid back control game, and now you're going to get the finishes from this week.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, yeah. But yeah, a lot of little details that we were going over this week of just the hand fighting, and a lot of times I would try to like grab for the wrists. And finding that I'm losing it a lot of times, and when you just kind of show, like, you're not grabbing the fingers, but you're grabbing the hand.
We have a camera, so we can show this. But the difference between, and we talk about this from a lot of different scenarios, but when you're on someone's back, grabbing someone's wrist, it's so easy for someone to punch out of the finger. So if he punches his hand away, versus grabbing the knuckle line of like actually grabbing all 4 fingers and covering my partner's knuckles. Now when he tries to punch his hand away, it's so different.
Yeah,
it's like the idea of holding the end of the lever versus grabbing like right in the middle.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's been a big part of our back
beneficial,
control.
yeah.
Back control game.
And it sounds so simple.
Yeah.
It's in theory.
But once
like,
you learn
duh.
it, you'll never forget that. Like
but
you'll feel what's successful and what's not successful.
Right.
You'll never forget it once it's like, oh, that feels right.
You'll notice yourself doing it wrong the next time you do it, and you'll immediately just go to the right thing.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad this week has been beneficial.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We have some cool videos. Kyle posted something today. I think you posted something last week too, but you posted another one today.
Yeah.
Of basically exactly what we've been teaching all week.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool. And Kyle was thinking about that in general. Like, it's really nice to see. Of course, it's great to see someone drill what they're teaching, but that's another thing to see them perform it.
You got to see it in action with like full resistance from somebody and
against another talented person.
Yep.
That's another guy who's trying to stop you. It's always nice to see the stuff work.
Right. Yeah.
Then you really believe in it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's what I've always felt with that backtracking system. Like I was telling people, I learned that so long ago at like a private at a Marcelo Garcia gym, and then now with us studying it, we're studying it.
I feel like every time I get a little bit more.
And a lot of the stuff
in-depth.
we're learning is from like the Danaher Hensel Gracie system, and they're almost
like the straight jacket system.
They're the exact same thing, and those are the two like big rival schools in New York. And if they're both doing the same thing, it's got to be
works.
the exact. And that's how it's always. That's just been almost impossible to stop once you get it going. Every time I've done it, so
super successful.
Yeah.
All right. What about so training today? We also we've been getting ready for next week.
Yeah.
So Jay's coming with us. We're all going to Orlando for the ADCC Open, which I think it's sold out now. It's like the biggest Open they've ever had. The most people.
Yeah, I think it's the
cool.
first one where they're going to add the 45 plus divisions. Yeah, so they're going to.
Which you're not there yet.
Not there
How
yet.
old are you, Jay?
Well, I'm 39 right now.
39.
Oh man!
But in less than a month.
Hey, do you remember that?
Less than
When
a
was
month,
that?
buddy.
Was that a birthday party? I don't remember. But someone asked, some mother asked,
Oh my God.
like, hey, that's so great that your dad trains with you.
Yeah.
Oh no!
And like pointed, and I was like, what? I was like, my dad doesn't train with me. And then pointed over by Jay. It's like that's your dad, right?
Hey.
And I was like, yes, I'm Joey Jr. and he's Joey Senior.
Senior, it would have worked perfectly.
We call him
Perfect.
Jay.
Yeah, we just call him Jay.
Yeah, so but I think you look good for 40, man.
Thank you. I
You got the
appreciate
the gray beard. For anyone's
Yes.
looking, he's totally gray, and that's. I think you dye that gray though, don't you?
I do not.
I thought that was a choice.
That was not by
just
choice.
sitting out in the outfield with nothing happening.
Just waiting.
All these balls
the
coming.
anticipation
No
of
balls
just
coming,
hours.
just hours standing there.
So yeah, let's get into the origins. So we'll start first with the actual question of jiu-jitsu origins. So like, how did you start jiu-jitsu? I mean, I
Right.
kind of know, but I would like to hear you kind of explain your story of like, why'd you start? Like, was jiu-jitsu ever on your radar before you were with me with training at our school? Just tell me your jiu-jitsu origin story.
Right. So I'd say for like most high school boys, I guess UFC wasn't around forever, but when I was in high school, UFC was a pretty big thing going on. So just watching the fights and
So you've been a UFC fan in high school? Did you watch it?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. George St. Pierre was like one of the big guys that we would try to like get all the pay-per-views for him and watch
was
him.
my
Matt
hero,
Hughes.
too.
Okay.
Matt Hughes was another big one. So like seeing those two in their prime, that was a lot of fun.
rivalry.
Yeah. Oh God, it was great. So we would always like roughhouse, and I always wondered how I would do in like a fight, right? Because I've been into some street fights, here and there, nothing too big, but it's like
So fighting was on your mind.
Oh yeah, it was always a little bit little like thought of like, I wonder how I would do. You know, my dad, he trained when he was younger.
I think Kyle's thinking of baseball jokes right now.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just interested in this.
Damn baseball players thinking that you can scrap. And that's the thing, right? We're a little cocky in that aspect, thinking that we could do a
as
little
long
bit
as they have
more
a bat.
Yeah, as long as I have a bat, I think I can take
take
Joey.
anyone.
If you weren't over there on that base, I'd
would
fight you right
totally
now.
get you.
From the outfield, just yelling.
just yelling. But never really fully pursued that. Because we might talk a little bit more about it, but I was just really embedded into baseball. Like
baseball was your life.
That was
huh?
my life. That was everything. I identified as a baseball player. I was a shortstop, so like introducing
you were
myself.
Short, you weren't tall.
I was a shorter guy in the middle of the field.
I don't know anything. Yeah. I really don't know.
You don't even know the positions.
Well,
no.
So
I know there's a catcher, pitcher, and there's
which is weird because this is the 6th episode. And in baseball, we have certain numbers for positions,
and they're the 6.
And shortstop is number 6.
Oh, and that's your. Whoa.
That was my position.
Synchronicity.
That's so weird. I just thought about that.
That's well.
So
you were designed to be here.
to be the 6th one.
But from what I do know from baseball, shortstop tends to be the most athletic person in the field, right?
Correct.
You tend to be the best. Yeah.
Did you play baseball, Kyle?
No, I did as like a little kid.
Like t-ball?
Not t-ball, little in like grade school baseball, but I don't think much past like 3rd, 5th grade.
Tell me this little segue. So like baseball, t-ball is the first thing they do.
Right.
Number 1.
Yep.
They put the ball on the tee, the kid whacks it, and they pretend like it did something, right? It's totally fake.
The most common thing.
It's basically closer to like pro wrestling. It's like scripted, right? Like they don't care.
The most common thing
Like there
you see
is
is
no
they
skill
hit,
to that, right?
They hit the ball off the tee and then they run and get it.
A lot of the times the kids would do that. Like, what are you doing? Go there. Or they'll run to third. They'll run over to third base.
They have
right to second.
And what they'll do is they'll run like halfway to third, and they're like the coaches are yelling at them, and then they'll run across the
middle
field
That's
to
awesome.
get to first. And still,
in all seriousness, I think it's cool. Like I love kids doing anything is great.
Yeah.
But it's just fun to giggle about it.
Right.
So like that's the start though. All right. So everyone starts at t-ball, and then they do like an assisted, like fake, like
advanced t-ball, is
like
what
where
they
the
call it.
coach is
Coach
throwing
will
the
pitch
ball,
it. Yes,
right?
yes.
And they're trying to get them to hit it.
Correct.
So you're not like the
coach is like, I threw a no-hitter today, baby. We're going out. We're celebrating.
He's hitting the players.
Yeah.
And then when does it actually become baseball? When do they like play a live game with a live, like what grade or what age?
I would say some 7, 8-year-olds.
That's when it becomes
usually
competitive?
around when they're pitching to each other, one another.
Okay. And you played all throughout that entire from t-ball all the way up
to college.
College baseball?
I played 1 year in college. So that's kind of how my career kind of ended. I messed my arm up a while, like probably junior year, just playing through injuries and just trying to push through it. Was able to get a scholarship to Aurora University and ended up playing 1 year there. But that whole time I was there, I was injured. And I was trying to like play through it, push through it, not let anybody really know, because if you get injured, somebody takes your spot, you lose your job, and that's the end of the story. At the end of that year, my arm was just cashed. I couldn't do anymore. So that was the end of my career. And that's when I was just kind of like, oh, man.
Did you get injured from repetitive throwing or from diving for balls?
It was probably a little bit of just a combination of everything, of like hard throws.
And I could say being bad in your shoulder too, diving for balls. You know, it can be real bad. Yeah.
So like messing up my shoulder, because I did play like a year of football.
Okay.
Dislocated my shoulder while I was doing that, and I'm like, I'm done
Same
with that.
shoulder?
Yeah. So that could have been where the injury started from, but I'm sure my mechanics weren't the greatest.
Okay.
You know, there's times like if you're hurt a little bit and you just push through it, like you
too physical with the throw, like not technical.
Yeah, and
Interesting, like jiu-jitsu.
Well, even a hyper technical throw of a baseball is
Still a
very
throw.
bad for you.
Yeah.
It's not.
They say
the ball's too light for you to be throwing so hard. You know, like because your arm can
I
get out of
legitimately
such
cannot
position.
throw. Like if you saw, like what is like a good speed, like 80,
Oh, well, good speed for like a high schooler kid, 78, 85, somewhere
and
around
like
there.
the pros throw like 100 and something.
they're
What
like,
does
the
Kenny
numbers are
Powers throw?
so
Kenny Powers.
Kenny
do like,
Powers, I think, what was he, like 110, 111 or something?
yeah,
No one's ever hit
gas.
110, right? Like 106, I think is the record, right?
Kenny
so.
Powers
Yeah,
had an
106,
arm, a rocket.
Chapman, I think.
Yeah,
is that,
Chapman's got 106.
But, yeah.
So like that's insane, right?
Well,
like
that's
that's
coming
so
in.
you have to like hurt your shoulder in order to throw that hard, right?
No, I think there's right techniques, and there's a lot more information out there on how to throw
Here's
to throw properly.
what I think has got to be dangerous, and this is me not with any experience, me just talking, but you're obviously only throwing with your dominant arm.
Right.
So imagine, I mean, that's like a muscle system that you're using over and over and over and not balancing on the other side.
And that's a big thing.
I mean,
a lot of
there's
baseball
no
players,
way
the
you can do that
imbalance.
forever.
Right.
So there's a pitcher who's controversial for a while now, but I think
Kenny Powers.
He'll be good now. So there's a kid, Trevor Bauer, he's a really, really good pitcher, and his whole life, every coach he had, like high school, grade school, they would all like even make fun of him because he had this whole routine with almost like the sticks that you work out with, but much more flexible. And he would do this whole like workout routine where he would bounce it, and he would do this whole thing to be
like a shoulder stabilization
and he
drill.
wouldn't pitch unless they let him do his routine and stuff. And he just said like, I'm not going to do this because I know I'm going to ruin my shoulder. So yeah, I mean that's
I think it's super important. So you made it through into your college career.
Yep.
Nursing a little injury.
Yeah.
And as you got hurt, or as that year went on, you knew baseball was done, or
Pretty
when
much.
did
Like,
you?
it
Have a
was-
moment where you're like, okay, I'm never going to play baseball again because my shoulder? And I'm sure you still play baseball, right? Yeah. So
just like men's softball leagues, nothing too serious.
but you knew you were done
but I
playing
knew
college.
I was done like mid-college year when just the grind of the season, like you're playing every single day, it's nonstop, and just not being able to even lift my arm above.
Really?
Yeah, like that.
Oh,
like
man.
getting to like that point, you're like, and something's wrong, and you just go to practice and then just kind of like try to whip it without like lifting your arm up, and you're just going through the motions, and things are just getting worse and worse, and you just the competition's just really high level once you get to that college. Yeah. So any little thing.
And I feel like I feel like baseball is a very competitive sport.
It is.
Because there are so many people who play it.
Yeah.
It's
Crazy,
different than even like obviously every sport once you get to the top level is competitive like anything. Like I mean, there's some weird sports out there, and if you get to that top level, it's like everyone's good. Even like speed cubing. Kyle got me into speed cubing.
Those
I was
kids
like,
are nuts, huh?
remember?
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
Yep.
But it's such a so
It's
few
crazy
people
that
do it.
You've
but
done
the
that, yeah.
No, I
Kyle's-
can't speed
He's not a
cube.
speed cuber, but he's a cuber.
I can
Yeah.
cube.
Nonetheless,
You can
he
cube.
cubes.
I've cubed.
I can get a
I've cubed
cube
myself.
Yeah, I can get a cube
I can do
down.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, we're talking about Rubik's cubes.
Yeah. So
For
so
speed, baby. I can do. I did it under a minute.
Remember Max
Yes.
Max Park?
Yeah.
Is
yes,
it Park? Simon Park? Park something.
Yeah, we'll think of him. Yeah, but
I think it's Max.
yeah, I always
Either
remember-
way, it's a guy who's got a world record.
Yeah. So there's
And
a
he does it and just drops it. It's amazing.
Right.
there's
It's
a
crazy.
great documentary on YouTube.
Not a sport, I guess.
It's probably on Netflix
set,
as
right.
well. It's called Why We Cube.
Yes, it's awesome.
And it follows two kids. There's one kid, Felix Semdex, who he had every single record for cubing, every size, every blah blah. And then there was this one really young kid with autism, who's the other character
Asian
in there.
kid, right?
And yeah, that's Max.
Yeah.
And he just slowly
Phenomenal.
He got obsessed with Felix, so he's just a big fan of
And
him.
he, like, loves
then,
him, right?
And then just slowly takes every single one of his records.
But he's like a fan.
But he's such a big
So
fan.
then
of him.
every
It's like,
time
like,
Felix
"Hi,
has to
Felix."
be like, oh, I'm really proud of you. And he's so mad about it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a really good one.
My point with it was it's like it's super competitive, and I think with baseball, everyone plays baseball. I mean, I
So
didn't,
many
but
kids,
everyone
yeah.
plays baseball. So it's like at that, I'm
Yeah.
sure to get to college even is a really difficult thing to do, and then to go then to the pros, and
Yeah.
it's just competitive. It's tough to do. So when you were done with baseball, so now you're 20-year-old kid or 19-year-old kid. and-
Yeah, 19, I believe. Around that
So
time,
no
yeah.
more sports?
No
Or-
more sports.
Yeah.
And that was the challenging part of my life.
Well, it's tough when you identify yourself as I am Jay the baseball player, or
Yep.
I'm JJ the baseball player.
And then he became
He's like,
Jay.
fuck it,
And
I'm
then I
Jay
became
now.
Jay. I'm
Jay
fucking
now.
Jay now.
I'm a new man.
Don't you ever call me JJ?
He's gone.
One of those Jays is staying with baseball.
Stay on the field.
Yeah.
I'm leaving a part of me
Yeah.
on the field.
So then what do you? How do you kind of rebuild your identity of? Were you still an athlete?
I would say no. I went down the dark side of it. Yeah, like it went down.
Is this
the
where
deep
the
end.
music came in?
This is where the music kind of came in.
I want to get to know this part of Jay because I've talked to you a little bit about
you
it.
have, right.
But because I know that you were into bike, like you was a biker.
Yeah, rode
legitimately a
motorcycles.
biker, right?
Yeah.
Were you
APC high roller chopper, and I had a
Okay.
Yamaha.
Not a sports bike. A
Not
chop.
a-
Okay.
but I did also have a sports bike.
Okay.
It was a
So he
was
YZF
big into
600R Yamaha. Yeah.
That's like a trick bike. Or is
That was my where
doing
I would
wheelies?
I would do endos, wheelies, and I would just
What's
like,
an endo?
that's where you
Forward.
like front
No.
brake. And
That's
then,
What's it
wild.
called?
Endo. Yeah.
Endo.
yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah.
Can you spin and like hit someone with your tire, your back tire?
You could die.
You could do that. I didn't do that.
You know what I mean? Like
But like a kip, right? Or like a kick out
Okay.
with your bicycle.
yeah, like spin your butt
yeah.
out to the side.
I never hit anybody with that, but
I
like
think
I
if
was
you
able
do that,
if you
that would
pick
be
it up
really
and then
cool.
just like kind of kick it to the side. And
I don't know
then-
what movie I'm thinking about. I've seen that in a movie where
Yeah.
like
With
I think it might be
bicycles, I
a
did
John
that,
Wick
not a
movie or
Probably
something.
Fast and the Furious 12.
32.
The Rock probably did it. Yeah.
coming out of a helicopter.
Yeah, so you're a big bike. So is that what got you into like that whole world? They're like, all right, I'm not doing sports or athletics. I'm gonna get into something else.
And I kind of just a lot of people around the neighborhood was buying motorcycles as well. Some childhood friends, they had bikes. So I'm like, I'll just kind of dabble into that. I got a lot of free time now in my hands. Like, baseball took up so much time. It's like, what do I do now? So yeah, I bought the bike, just started riding around with all of them.
Yeah, that sounds
kind
like
of-
that's a shocking thing for like when you do sports so much. I remember it was only for a little bit that I didn't play football and then like didn't do jiu-jitsu just consistently. I think, and I remember like going home after school and going like, what do people do? I have
Right,
so,
yeah.
I have
Right?
so
Yeah.
much time.
It's
Yeah, I
so
don't know
much
what do I
free
do with
time. You're like,
myself.
what is going on?
I feel like I always have something to do.
Yeah.
Well, and now I do because of jiu-jitsu.
There's
yeah.
so many
Yeah.
movies in the world. There's so many Simpsons episodes I
Yeah.
could just keep watching.
Yeah. I
But no,
I didn't feel
but I get what you're saying.
satisfied gaming. I mean, I
Yeah.
could game all the time,
Yeah.
but yeah, it gets.
No, I needed something like jujitsu is always wrestling. Jiu-jitsu, I've always had, and the same thing. I get that idea of almost like an identification with it,
Yeah.
which I don't think is super healthy in general. But as a
probably not.
child, when you're young, you kind of need a little bit of like, you need that like something that makes you feel unique. Like it's yours, like you know. I mean, obviously, it's not baseball. Everyone
Right,
plays
like a lot
baseball,
of-
but you feel like you. It's
But
like a
yeah.
piece of you, and
Yep.
you enjoy it. You enjoy the, you create friends off of it.
Mm-hmm.
You create memories from it. So I think it's important for every kid. And some kids don't have that. Like
Right.
we said, we talked about this stuff
Yeah.
on the podcast of like, I can't imagine what it would be like to not wake up and be excited to go do something.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't have that, like it'd be, I don't know what I'd do.
Life would be very rough. Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
as a young kid, being 19 or whatever, and you lose that
Yeah.
because of injury, it can be pretty tough.
Yeah, it was like an abrupt stop. Like
Yeah.
you didn't realize that it was going to stop that soon. Like in my mind, I thought at least I was going to finish college playing ball.
Did you want to play in the,
Oh yeah,
In the majors?
Oh my god, yeah, that was the goal. That was
for
that
what
was the
team?
goal.
What was your team?
I didn't really mind. I was just like, get me in the draft, and whoever drafts me, and a lot of people, because I'm a Sox fan.
Sox fan, huh?
But yeah.
Why don't you play it?
What is it?
Do you not like the Sox?
no, it's just a fun one to say.
Yeah.
If he would have said the Cubs, I would have done the same thing.
But because of the rivalry between the Sox and the Cubs, everybody was like, "Well, what if the Cubs drafted you? Would you go?"
wear it, or would you be like, no?
I'm like, "Of course I would."
a
Are you
major
fucking
league team?
kidding me?
Yes,
You'd be singing, "Go
Yeah, I
Cubs,
would. Yeah, I
go."
would.
Now, when you stopped playing, did you keep going to school?
No.
Okay.
Wow,
Do
you
you,
only-
do you
you
lose
only
your
went for-
scholarship?
Yep, I lost the scholarship, and
Oh,
that
that's-
was
I
the big
didn't think of
decision
that.
of me.
That's a
like,
pretty
coming
wild
out.
thing. So is that what a scholarship? You sign a contract that says we'll pay for your school
If you perform.
If you
play.
perform, yeah. And
Wow, wow.
That's cutthroat when you think about
Yeah,
it.
it's pretty savage,
tough.
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, but
that's-
it is a deal, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's the price that you kind of have to go in there knowing what you're signing.
Yeah.
You know
So
what
when
you're doing.
you,
There's a
so
lot
then
of-
you stop going to school, and what are you gonna do?
So at that time, I went into a truck driver. So I was working like in a warehouse / truck driver operator. It was a carpet or flooring warehouse company, and we had two different smaller warehouses, nothing too extreme, not that big. And like one side was for all like the hardwood, ceramic, the grout, all
stuff,
this
yeah.
stuff, and then the other warehouse was all carpet stuff. And then I would, find the list of the jobs that we had, what they needed, the size of the carpets that they needed, or how much tile they would need, and load that up into the truck. Then mosey my ass on over, unload all this stuff, and then go back. And that was the
Honest work.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was easy in the sense of where it's just like
Repetitive
yeah,
work.
Yeah, like and I was on the road a lot too, so
Got to
it's
be
like
by
you got to
yourself.
go, right? Yeah, and so it's a lot of driving, and then like right after I'm done with work, get on my bike and then ride some more. So it's like I was on the road continuously, just
Nice.
Enjoying
And
being
to draw
outside.
this back, so with like MMA, being a fan of MMA,
Right.
after baseball's done, do you consider? Did you even think about jiu-jitsu? Did you think about martial arts?
No,
or-
not even in like the slightest. Like
So it wasn't even on your radar.
Wasn't even on the radar. Just more so of like guys being guys, and like we'll wrestle around a little bit. Like
Nice.
we're
The boys will
yeah,
be
it's
boys.
just in that sense, but nothing ever where it's like, oh, let's go start training and figure out how
Yeah.
to do this for
Yeah.
real.
Like, let's
It's like,
look up
we'll,
a
we'll
gym.
watch and be like, I could do that.
Like most people at B Dubs.
If I squeeze their neck, how ain't they gonna
Yeah,
go?
like, oh,
You
that's
know?
so easy. What is going on?
I
here?
play baseball.
Yeah,
I'm a real
I can
athlete.
do
Come
this.
on. Yeah.
I can do this.
That's cool. So all right, so biking, get into all this.
All right.
So the Jay that I know, right? I've only known you for a few years, but I've known you for a while. Biking, none of that stuff. Like, I wouldn't even imagine you being on a bike.
Right.
You were like an athlete. You're like a personal trainer. So how do we draw that together? How do you go from, so you're a baseball player, then you go into this big biking world, like you're really obsessed with biking, right? Like big time.
I just enjoyed the ride.
Yeah.
Like bikes in particular. Like I wasn't like, oh, I need to get this bike or
Because
like
like
this.
another person we want to talk to about bikes is Rocco. Rocco's told me
biker?
some crazy stories.
Okay.
I mean, he was like racing
I
bikes.
can think of
and
Bob,
Oh no
too.
way! Yeah,
Oh,
was
yeah.
he racing?
Bob,
Yeah,
the
Bob's
biker.
got some
Yeah,
crazy
Bob's
stories.
biker too.
Yeah. But I think Bob like goes like tracks, indoor tracks.
Okay.
Thunderfoot, we call him.
Yeah.
That's how fast Thunderfoot is.
Can you imagine how fast Thunder?
Just wait till you talk to Thunderfoot. I can't. He's got some stories, man. But Rocco too was doing. Like, he told me these crazy stories about him doing tricks on bikes.
Okay,
and, like,
yeah,
So like he
nice.
was just into that stuff. So it's like that has nothing to do with like personal training and
Right.
like,
No. So yeah, like the roller coaster of a life I had. I guess it's like looking back and talking about it's kind of weird. So yeah, getting into the biking, going out with the guys, and then one of my childhood friends, he kind of like popped back in my life, and he played guitar, and they grew up down the street from me, so I've known him from like kindergarten on. High school kind of came a little bit distant because I was more into baseball and like he was working and doing his thing, so we didn't really talk that much in high school. But then after everything was all said and done and over with, we kind of ran into each other, and he's like, "Hey, Jay, you played drums before, right?" I'm like, I was in 5th grade, and my dad got a drum kit from a guy at work, just like that was gonna throw it away. And my dad's like, I'll take it. My son,
But yes.
but yes, but yeah, I played drums. No, but I told him like, no, like I can count to 4 and I can do that beat
Better
but
than me.
That's about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, like we're gonna start a band.
We're doing this.
And
baseball's done.
and
Let's start a
baseball's
band.
done. Jay, I got you. We're starting a band.
You're
So
just gonna go
like
from
that-
one big stick in your hand to 2 small sticks.
smaller sticks, and you'll be good. So yeah, and then that just kind of like the brothers, because there was 2 of them. The one brother.
What was your
Matt.
band's name?
So we started off as Driven Away, and then we changed it to Gates of Dis.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah,
Gates of what?
Dis, D-I-S.
Dis?
So the city of Dis is in Dante's Inferno.
Okay.
That's the 7th layer of hell.
Okay.
And that's
This
where
is metal.
This is where Medusa.
This is metal.
Yes.
Metal AF.
This is where Medusa. That's
This
all
is
I
where
need to hear.
Medusa tries to kill or freeze Dante in hell, because in the book Dante's
Yeah.
Inferno, he got to visit all the levels of hell, and people that were in hell were not happy about that because he gets to leave, they have to stay there. So Medusa tries to keep him there, kill him at the gates of Dis. So
Bad
that's
ass.
where the name came from.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So heavy metal.
So yeah, I
I mean, it's
consider
music about fighting Medusa, Joe.
What if it was like a soft jazz? play this drum.
there it is.
Jay's band.
That was my beat right there.
Yeah.
So
Gates of hell.
so we go from an athlete to a metalhead drummer.
Were you big into like partying then? I'm guessing, like,
yes.
You can't really be in a metal band and not
Yeah.
party.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some straight edge like metal bands, but I think they're majority.
I think it's
Majority,
usually
yeah.
after they partied, and
Yeah,
then they become
it's-
straight.
yeah, like
Yeah.
they have to get sober.
Unless they're
Yeah.
like a Christian metal band, and then they probably
They sound like this.
for God, for Jesus
For Jesus.
of Nazareth.
So you had fun being in the band.
Yeah.
Did you guys get like legit? Like how'd the band go?
I'd say we were.
Be honest.
Yeah,
we could talk shit about your band. Do you
Yeah,
even know
it
these
wasn't-
guys anymore? Still talk to
I
them?
do still talk to some
Well,
of them.
then
Yeah,
the band was
There's-
awesome.
Yeah,
They're great.
there's, but yeah, I'd say for the most part,
Like,
for
did you
like
guys
any,
do shows?
yeah, we did shows. We started off at like local bars and pubs, like Penny Road Pub or little areas there, and then we would book the Rave in
Okay.
Wisconsin.
Nice.
But we were never on like the main stage with the bands. They had like different little side
Yeah, I don't
stages. But we would get to see like some of the bigger bands as they're loading their stuff in. We get to kind of shoot the shit with those guys. So that was really cool. Got to meet some of the guys from Guar, which was awesome.
That's a big metal band.
Oh,
You know that band?
Phenomenal.
I've heard of it before. I couldn't
It's
say
they're like
Guar
weirdos,
song.
right? Like
They're
they got-
weird.
yeah,
They're
like
weird. Yeah,
Odd
it's
Cats.
out there.
They're cool.
Devil Driver.
Tim,
got to
so
meet some of those
my
guys.
experience
Lamb
with
of
like
God.
metal music, Lamb of God.
Lamb of
Yeah.
God.
So
That's
Tim, my buddy Tim, who's
Yes.
the purple belt
Yep.
Tim, he's like obsessed. He was a pretty big metal drummer.
Yeah,
I'm sure
he's
you guys
good.
talked about it.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, we've
legit.
talked. We've
He like
talked.
traveled like
He was like
yeah.
in Europe, did a whole
Yeah,
thing.
they've.
His band, Age of Aries.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
I'm sure there's a story of similar
Yeah.
things.
Wait,
Yeah.
so we got Age of Aries versus Gates of Dis.
Yeah.
We got Heaven versus Hell.
Metal.
Oh,
Yeah. but you know, did you have a plan in your head of like, this is my life, I'm gonna make money doing music?
I think for like, because there was 5 of us in there, and we just all had the idea of like, if we could just make a living, nothing like
Work a
becoming-
job but make
right,
money off
right,
of it.
but still be able to make an income off of it, something that we can.
Like a passion.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
And just kind of keep that going.
Kyle, can we start a band?
Passion project.
do it.
Let's just start a band.
Let's do it. I mean,
I don't play an instrument. You don't play an instrument.
you play the spoons. I could play the saxophones.
You do? Oh, that's right.
We could call our band the SS Music, saxophone and spoons.
I really want to.
There it is.
Yes, saxophone and spoons
Yeah.
is crazy.
I mean, if I can come up with that fast,
my
I
name
can write a
is
song.
I'm Joey Spoons.
Yep.
Joey Spoons.
Kyle Sax.
Kyle Sax.
You got something going on here.
It doesn't
really-
fit, but it sounds perfect.
Kyle Sax.
Kyle Sax sounds legit.
Kyle Sax.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
But
this?
it's got to be like Kyle Sax.
Can you imagine the slow, methodical sound of a saxophone and then,
then
the
my
quick,
spoons just
repetitive beat of a spoon?
Yeah.
It's going crazy.
Fuck yeah. I'm in.
Tune in. Tune
coming.
in.
Let's tune in.
Something to look forward to in episode 7.
It would legitimately sound like the end of Step Brothers, where he's singing like the big epic song,
Like,
and then he just starts
at the
pounding the
Catalina
drums like a
wine
rock.
mixer? yeah, dude, I would love it. Yeah, I've always dreamed of being in a band, like legitimately
Really?
had
Yeah.
dreams. I think I've said this
Yeah,
before.
yeah. I think
Maybe
you
I
said
said it on
something
the
about
podcast, but
being
like,
the front.
yeah,
man.
like I've always just wanted. It's so bad. I would like lay down and like dream about being on stage.
Are you singing lead vocals for Leonard Skinner?
Yes, I'm telling you, this
And
is
Jesus
exactly it.
is
This
the
is
front
exactly it. We've said this before. I dream about it. It would be so cool. So I'm sure, like even just playing smaller shows,
Yeah.
you kind of got that adrenaline rush.
Oh,
of, like,
God, yeah. Oh, my
fucking-
God.
it's got to be cool.
It
I don't
was
know and it's not to talk bad about drummers, but do drummers feel that because they're in the back?
Yeah.
So you probably don't get like the same feeling that the singer gets or like
No,
the
not at all.
guitarist
Yeah,
gets.
I'd say
They're
it's
like
different.
they're interacting, high fiving. Drummer has to sit down.
Yep.
Yeah, but I
We're in
feel
the
like as a
back.
drummer, you're more like interacting with the music. Like you're very,
Yes.
you're
You
very,
are the music.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
we're
very
holding
integral.
the tempo.
Tim
we're
loves
we're in
that
the
shit.
beat. Yeah.
So I would love to have you
The-
and Tim
the
like
backbone.
talk about drumming.
Drum it out.
Which, by the way, we're doing this weekend, right? The
Music cast.
The music cast
Yeah.
is on the Sunday. We're gonna record and film people. I'm trying to get you to come play some
Yeah.
drums. So
It'll be funny to see if it gets competitive, like Nam and
And
Jesse's. They start like guitar
riffing.
battle. Yeah,
dude, I'd love it.
Yeah,
Oh,
It's gonna
that'd be
fun.
amazing.
I'm
a
excited for
guitar off.
Just guitar off. Just going.
it. They have to train. They have to roll together
Yep.
and then play against
And
each
then
other.
play.
So it's like a roll off.
Yep.
So okay, so music. How do we keep going? How does it become where you are now with fitness?
So the music, the lead singer, the lead guitarist, and myself, we all started like getting more into our family, and that started taking up a lot more of our time.
You already had your child.
I already had Jaden at the time. My sister and the lead guitarist, they were married.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was kind of cool at the time.
Yeah.
You know, like hey, you know,
Like family.
right. So we would always go to their house and jam, and they had a basement. So like all the kids, my sister, and that's another like whole story we can talk about is like my sister and all of her kids, the army that she has, 7 kids.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
So, but at the time, I think 3. So
Okay.
it was fairly small at the time,
Starting the army.
but starting the army,
Recruiting.
right, recruiting the
For
army
the band.
Yeah.
and then as the lead,
I mean, some families. That's the whole point of having kids. You think about Joe Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, if I knew my kids were gonna be talented, I would have had 10 of them,
And
I would have made Jackson's 10.
if you are Joe Jackson, if your kids aren't talented,
You
you could just
beat
beat them
them.
until they are. Yes.
Reap
knock 'em around
Michael
till they figure
Jackson.
it out.
Allegedly.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
We'll never get to jiu-jitsu.
No, this is so much going on.
3
here.
hours later.
We're still talking about Joe Jackson. Speaking of Joe Jackson, you know,
Well, let me tell you about that. Yeah.
But yeah, then our lead singer Scott, he started kind of getting more involved with his family, and just practices just started to dwindle down. We ended up getting signed by Turkey Vulture Records.
Fuck
So
yeah.
I think I think
And you passed that up?
Yes. No. We didn't pass it up, but I think
I want
this
to
was
know
our
the guy
downfall.
who started Turkey Vulture.
But I feel like this was the beginning of the end of our band.
Turkey Vultures will do that.
They were
ate you guys
they
from the
knew
inside.
they knew they were circling something that was about to die. So I would say, like, once we got signed, we had a good solid 10 or 12 songs at the time, somewhere in between there. We could only put 10 on the album, and it took so long for them to like finish mixing it and just get the CD out that we were trying
Losing
to
your steam.
Yeah, we were promoting this CD of our 10 songs. Everything became kind of stagnant. We weren't writing new music. We're going to practices, practicing the same song over and over and over again, because when we go to the shows, we have to play the songs that are on the album.
You want to do a
'cause that's
tour after it comes
right.
out.
So
yeah.
you're trying to like push all this stuff on the songs, and you're now your creative side of like writing music is going off the end, and just by the time the album came out, we were already like just kind of going our separate ways, and like nobody was
Life,
really like
yeah.
the creativity behind it, and it was just like, I guess
That
we're
does sound
kinda
like a
done.
very common band story, is though, that
It's
like
so
everyone
weird.
comes together and their first album is like their whole life's work, and then like they comes out and then they're like, hey, do it again, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not like that, you know.
Right,
Yeah.
You know what was a great documentary was that the Beatles. Did you guys see the newer Beatles documentary? It was all about them producing. I think it was the White Album. I don't remember.
No, yeah.
But it was all like the backstage stuff,
Okay.
like of them doing it, and like they all kind of hated each other, like at that point when they were like fighting and bickering. So like to see like one of the world's most famous bands, their process of making like an
Right.
album.
Yeah.
You know, obviously already well established too. So like it wasn't like they're super famous, but like there was like it was a mean, and it was a very difficult process for them to do
Interesting.
stuff.
Interesting.
You know, it's like I think it's super cool when you get creative people together, but it's also super fucking annoying.
Yeah.
It could be, yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, a lot of opinions
Yeah.
can go into like one room. And that's another movie, Some Kind of Monster. Metallica did the same thing. It's
Okay.
very similar, where they
I
let
love those kind of documentaries,
Yeah,
like-
yeah, they let somebody in to their whole recording an album, Some Kind
Yeah.
of Monster, and it was like just such a clusterfuck, and like so high emotions and a lot of things.
There's a
And they
couple
even
of
had
good
a
documentaries.
Well,
like
well
that.
those are the
therapist
good.
and-
I feel like those are the best documentaries.
Well,
because
Lars. Speaking of
Lars,
drummers, right?
yeah.
He was a nut, wasn't he?
Oh,
I think-
Lars is
yeah, oh, yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Lars will
He's
get on
kind of an
stage and
asshole.
just like threaten people to, in the crowd, just like, I'll come out there, and Lars gets going. Yeah. Yeah. Jim Brewer's got a funny story of like, the comedian of, he would go on tour and do like comedy before their stuff.
He loved metal,
but
too.
really just like hype up the crowd. And he's got a whole like story about like, that guy seeing a kid in the crowd and being like, you brought your kid here, and then making them bring the kid on stage and then giving the mic and be like, are you ready for this? All right, scream, motherfucker, 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 and like making the kid do it on stage and stuff. Yeah, Lars is out of his mind.
Lars.
Yeah. Awesome. So the band starts to fall apart. Mm-hmm. Where do we go from here?
Jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu, right?
Instant.
I don't think yet.
No.
I don't think
No,
yet.
not yet. So at that time,
Are you still driving a truck?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then actually maybe I think I might have changed jobs at that point and I became a warehouse supervisor for a cold storage unit, Millard. So that was fun. That was third shift though. That was rough.
Yeah.
That's where like everything started to like, okay, I need to
And
start
you're
thinking
like
of something
25,
new.
you're getting
Somewhere around,
older.
yeah, getting a little bit
So
older.
life starts getting a little too serious.
And now
working.
I'm coaching because now Jaden's in baseball, and trying to work a third shift job as you're coaching. That's like your entire schedule's thrown off now.
Yep.
As soon as his games are over, we do the like snacks or whatever, like team meeting, and then right after that, it's like I'm driving him to his mom's house or babysitter, and then I'm going straight to work. And it's like, okay, now I got to work all those hours, and I'm working like 14-hour shifts. Like things were crazy at that job. That's when I started to think about, okay, I need a different career path. I need to start doing something that's just going to be a little bit easier for me to be a better dad, be a more present dad, because I felt like I was just like going through the motions sometimes of just being drained. So coaching was like that big part of it. I'm like, well, I'm doing a lot of research on just how to not hurt yourself because of my own history of my injury. I didn't want the kids that I'm teaching the sport. They're all looking up to me as if I know everything, right? Like, oh, you've played before, right? Yeah, you should know. How do you throw a curveball perfectly? How do you field a ground ball with the perfect footwork? And I'm like, I just did it. I don't know what I was doing. I just did it. Like that was instinct. Like now I got to like break everything down that I haven't played in such a long time, and now explain how to a child how to do properly and not hurt themselves.
Yeah, it says a lot about teaching and how you don't really know what you know until you have to explain
it to somebody.
Like you think obviously you know, but you don't know that you know it
right.
until you have to actually.
Yeah.
And teaching a kid is even more so. It's like
just to be able to verbalize what you're doing is in
a simple way, simple enough that a kid can understand it.
Yeah.
So so now you're like, I want to be a better teacher.
Correct, and that's what got me on the whole teaching path. And I would say too, like even when I was growing up playing ball, I tried to like step into like the leader role a lot, and I would always help my teammates out. And a lot of times,
and you have that vibe even in the jiu-jitsu room. I can feel that from him, where you have that kind of like, we've had you help like coach even.
Yeah.
You just kind of have that like almost like the team captain feel. Captain J, we call it.
Captain JJ.
Yeah,
Captain JJ.
But you gotta have that. Like I see it because, and like I didn't play too many team sports. I did football a little bit, but not much, and so I never really connected to that role. So I consider myself a leader. Obviously, I enjoy like owning a school and like you feel like a coach leader, but I'm not that personality. I don't have that like, come on, sport, you could do it. Yeah. Like, come on, like, like it just doesn't feel right to me. Yeah, it doesn't feel right. But you have that. I feel that energy from you. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I can't do it.
Right.
You're like, come on, kid, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm like, just do your thing.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see some of the video that I was recording when you guys were in New Jersey. Hearing me talk to them, because I'm not telling them technique.
Right. Well,
I'm just all
but
like,
still like your voice and your ability to like, it's like a motivational.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the idea that I try to
to
take and just think of like, just make sure that they, make sure they're taking care of their breathing, that they know their situation,
and
where
you're
they're
there
at,
for them.
stay
So
calm,
you're just giving them the energy of like,
and how excited I was
captain.
too.
When they need to use their energy, you give them a little bit of energy.
Yes.
When they need to calm down, you calm it down.
It's more energetic than anything.
Yeah.
Which is a good. That's
was
a
a lot
team
of fun.
captain.
It's a good example of what we talked about last week with like Miguel, how we were saying, he was getting a little over energized, and you had to calm him down a little bit.
There's nothing technical I could have told Miguel there. It was just as a coach, is just to kind of
open your eyes
energetically
and be here.
like get him in the right spot.
Yeah.
So all right. So now you're 100% in on coaching. How do you get a coaching job?
Right. So,
hire me.
So that's where a lot of the kids that I was coaching, the parents would come up like, hey, do you do private lessons? I'll pay you, teach my kid how to hit a little bit better, one-on-one stuff. And that is what kind of like,
triggered
I guess I am doing pretty good. I guess the research that I've been doing and, just going on like YouTube, trying to listen to a lot of the professionals on how, the mechanics of throwing and just baseball drills and practice drills and like everything I was just engulfed in. And you and I kind of had this conversation before where it's like, once we set our mind to something, we just dive all in.
Yeah,
like we just
I think
go.
that's a Joey personality thing.
Right.
I think we just have, I know I've always been like that. And it's like almost, like it's just like an obsessive personality trait.
It's like a healthy addiction thing, right?
Or unhealthy.
Might not be healthy.
At times it could be unhealthy.
You pick the right thing.
Sometimes,
yeah. I mean, if you hopefully you connect to something good, but it's definitely it can be, even with the best things. Sometimes it's like an unhealthy level of like, I can't, like I'll stay up all night with certain things.
Right.
I find a rabbit hole of something that and like even like weird stuff. Like I'm really into history sometimes. Like last night. Because I was telling Kyle a story about like some American history stuff.
You tell me Hamlet. Yeah,
Hamilton. Yeah,
Hamlet.
Classic name mistake. But like that, I was getting into like Andrew Jackson. I was reading everything last night. I stayed up way too late.
Same thing,
just
right?
reading
dueling.
He was a dueler.
He was a dueler, right?
He was a bad dude.
I think he got shot too, right? He lived through a duel, right?
Through it. But Andrew Jackson. Crazy stories, man, of him. How much he hated Native Americans.
I believe one of the only ones not a president and on the bill.
No, he's a president.
He was a president?
Andrew Jackson, 7th president.
Okay, 7th. Okay.
Fact check me. I think it was 7.
Okay.
Crazy stories. Okay. Really good. But but so my point is,
Yeah.
it's like sometimes I should just go to bed. But
Right.
Andrew Jackson's calling.
Not gonna know about Andrew Jackson.
I can't sleep until I know.
I just opened up a new wormhole. I got to go down there.
So but I think you're very similar to me.
Yes.
So you get into now like almost. What was it? Just baseball though, or
So it started off with just baseball. Like I was just looking all these drills up, and then in a lot of these better baseball drills, they were like talking about shoulder health and like mechanics and mobility work, and I'm like, okay, well, that kind of led me down another rabbit hole of like all of these influencers on YouTube of just the fitness world. And I'm like, okay, let me kind of dabble into that. Seeing some stuff that I like, some stuff that I didn't like, and I'm like, okay, well, some of this stuff doesn't make sense. Let me kind of dig a little bit deeper, and then I keep going and going, and then by the time I was just done and over with it, like I felt like I had so much knowledge of the fitness industry. I'm like, well, I just might as well get certified and just pick up clients from here. So then I just kind of started off slow, where like 1 or 2 clients here, still keeping my regular warehouse job and trying to balance the two. And it just got to the point where it's like, all right, I think I can let go of the job and see if I can slide into this.
And financially, that was
viable.
It
was able
money?
to work, and thankfully at the time, we're no longer together, but we were able to make that happen because from where we were living, the rent wasn't that expensive. So it's like, all right, I have a great opportunity to pull the trigger here. We have enough money saved up. Let's go all in. I'm gonna bet on myself. Right?
That's awesome.
It's like a lot of life changing things happen, and I'm like, I think third shift I'm done with that. I'm done with that lifestyle. I just need to do something where I'm now a little bit more passionate about.
And you'd say obviously for it's pretty easy to explain, much healthier lifestyle.
I agree. Yeah. Yes. And that's another thing that we kind of
became about taking care of yourself, taking care of others versus just staying up all night driving or whatever it might be.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say because we kind of glazed over it a little bit. Like while I was in the band, like out partying and drinking a lot.
Did you get fat?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I got chunky.
Really?
Yeah.
Big JJ.
And that's part of the reason why I have this beard. Because
they called
I
him
was
Big J.
I wanted to hide my chunky cheeks. So
oh, really?
A little, yeah.
Wow.
What's your heaviest?
I think my heaviest, and I could be wrong, but I think I got up to 190. I know I was like around 185.
Jay's a solid like 150 right now.
Right now,
yes. Walking around 150.
150, 155.
And like
I'm fluctuating between
muscular,
those two.
in shape 150 for a 40-year-old man.
I was gonna be super surprised if I heard 200 pounds. So 190 still pretty big.
Yeah, that was big. It was big.
And that was all boozing, huh?
Yeah, I'd say just very unhealthy, eating out, going to bars,
Third
eating the bar
shift,
food,
you're not
shift.
sleeping.
Yeah.
Like just the food that we were eating at third shift too is just not healthy.
Was there any influence being like, so even just coaching kids baseball, did it make you feel like I kind of have to be in shape to like
a little bit
do what I'm doing,
a little bit
like
in the
motivate
beginning,
the kids even?
In the beginning, not so much because I felt like the kids were young enough to where they didn't really see or like no matter anything I was doing, it was like, oh wow, that's amazing! I can't believe Coach Jay's doing that. Like I didn't have to be that athletic at that time. Like I could be, I can get away. Which
goes back to what Kyle's opinion of baseball is. Even the fat old dad can throw a ball.
Can do it, right.
Wow, he's a good athlete.
Right. I still had some of the residuals of
throw that ball over here. I'll
my
hit
body kind of remembered a little bit. Yeah, I ain't moving.
Yeah,
get it over here. But yeah, so being able to change that lifestyle too was like a big portion of it, like stepping away from the drinking. I don't even want to know if I want to admit this, but I used to smoke cigarettes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I quit.
How'd you quit cigarettes? With patches?
No,
Gum?
no, cold turkey, baby.
Cold turkey.
Yeah, I did it out of willpower.
How long would you say you smoked them for? Just
it wasn't that long.
Okay,
it wasn't
so
that long because after I got done playing baseball, that's when I started. Like when I was driving the truck, I used to dip.
Yep.
So that was when I played baseball. That was kind of gross.
Oh,
and my high school assistant coach, he's the one that introduced me to it. So it's like, oh, good.
It's
for
actually
you,
really popular in baseball. I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's like a thing. I remember like the big league chew.
Yeah.
It's just make like kids pretending to do
the gum. They put all this gum in their lip.
100%. That's what it was. It's like brainwashing.
Like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even do baseball. I thought it was badass.
Candy cigars and stuff. Out there,
the candy cigarettes. We talked about all this.
Candy steroids.
Yeah, so
Mark McGrath, what was that guy's
Mark
name?
McGuire.
Mark McGuire, fucking fake steroids for the kids.
Oh man,
bad influence. But that's really interesting to me that like you can totally revamp everything about your life just by what you do for work.
Right.
So I mean, like you it's really difficult. That's why I have to like give respect to a lot of the people who do those manual labor jobs and still make time for themselves to take care of themselves, be healthy.
Right.
You know, it's like we take it for granted. I'm sure, Kyle, because we could probably do better sometimes. We eat like shit sometimes.
I talk about it all the time. It's something
but
I've
like
been trying recently.
Our life is to be healthy. Like that's all we have to do right now.
Yep.
So we have like no excuse. But I still stay up too late.
But we still stay up too
But I
late.
still, you know,
And we'll still eat pizza.
I still love Uncle Jerry's.
I think
Uncle
Andrew
Jerry's.
Jackson's an excuse.
Andrew Jackson needs
it's a
to be
good excuse.
I think we
he was
need
an
it.
asshole, but an
I
interesting
think we
guy.
need to shout it out. Yeah, just because me and Joey every Sunday go get pizza at Uncle Jerry's.
Yes.
It just got rated by Dave
what
Portnoy
was the
by
score?
Pizza. I've heard rumors
I
it
told
was
you
an
I'd
8.3.
kick that guy's ass if it wasn't 8.2 is what I said.
Yeah.
And he gave it 8.3?
I think it was 8.3 Yeah, so
That's
he might
good.
be
Good
saying,
man.
I
He's
haven't
cool.
seen it yet though. Yeah, but so
I mean, if he gave it a 7 or something, I would have pissed. I would have pissed
seven's
off.
still pretty high for that, but
Is it?
yeah, 7's really high for him. Yeah,
So you're
Oh,
telling
wow.
me 8.3 is like world record for him?
Eight's really So
Well,
I
see,
don't.
Because
You're
I
not-
would back that. I really believe in Uncle Jerry's Pizza.
So someone texted me about it.
For anyone who doesn't know, again, Uncle Jerry's Pizza in Cary, we're trying to get a sponsorship. We're
Yeah.
trying to get like full. And Kyle has some history with them.
Yeah,
Should we
yeah.
tell the history? Can
I
we
mean,
do that?
put it out there.
I'll put it out there.
Yeah.
He used to date Uncle Jerry's daughter.
Oh my
No.
gosh, the pizza empire.
You were a part of
I was in.
you were a part of the legacy. You could have been the son.
Another missed opportunity.
No, I like this one.
You're like, wah, wah, wah. I
we
thought it
could
was
have
like
got
a joke.
we could have got Uncle Jerry's for life,
So
baby.
close.
We still do though. We still
We
get a
still
pizza.
we love it.
There's
man.
still
So
opportunities.
you know,
There's still good people.
but that's shout out to them for having someone. I mean, that's a big deal,
That's
right?
huge. That's a
Like
huge
they
deal.
do it international. It's like a big thing, right?
It's one of the biggest.
Man,
yeah.
and I wonder how he found out about it.
I bet you.
I bet it's from our podcast.
Well, I think they have an.
I think we should tell them it was from Dave. You're welcome, Uncle Jerry.
Yeah.
So back to baseball and you getting better. I'm kind of curious with you getting yourself back into shape and stuff and taking care of yourself. Do you think you could play baseball now? Could you throw a ball?
I could.
He still does.
Okay. And
Men's league.
Right now, so I am battling an elbow injury.
Okay.
I know.
but the previous one was more your shoulder.
Right. So
Okay.
so the whole kinetic chain of our body, like once my shoulder was
What?
messed up. Yeah. What is going on? So once my shoulder, that's not where the injury I think was my worst injury. It's the elbow. That's what kind of like hindered me from just being able to get any good rotation on the ball, being able to get a good snap. You know, if you're playing short and middle infield, you have to be able to throw from awkward positions too. Like all these little things is it trickled down to the elbow. So the elbow is what was like the big painful injury. Like I was able to fight through and ignore the shoulder, but when I was doing that, I was putting too much stress on the elbow.
Okay.
And I think that's what kind of just like set me on that course of like, well, now my shoulder and elbow hurt. I have nothing to like, just flicking the wrist isn't enough to get on the baseball in order to compete at this level now.
Yeah.
Like for my size, because I know baseball, it's not a contact sport, but it's usually the bigger guys.
Yeah.
You know, you want taller guys, you want bigger
Like
guys.
longer.
Yeah.
Like tall,
So
long
I mean,
arms.
think
And
about
it's-
yeah.
There's like a threshold to it, right? You don't want them too tall, like, but you still want a
'Cause they'll play
good size.
basketball.
Right? And then they'll
Yeah.
just kind of go into that sport.
Well,
But
I
if
mean-
they're too big, you play football.
Yeah. Well, I
Right.
mean, but too tall, you're not playing football. Like,
you can't be too tall.
There's no one
Yeah.
playing football who's 6'8". You know that's.
Oh, maybe a lineman, right? I bet there's one or two
I mean,
of them.
maybe one or two. But it's
Like
pretty.
Julius Peppers.
I think he was like 6'6".
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it's
thought he was a big
surprising.
boy.
Yeah, but then you think about one of the baseball guys we brought up was Aroldis Chapman.
Mm-hmm.
So two of the fastest pitchers ever are Randy Johnson and Aroldis Chapman.
Tall.
And they're both enormously
Yeah, they're-
tall. So then you have to think about when they release the ball, it's much closer to you than than.
Kind of like a Space Jam scenario.
Yeah,
With Michael.
exactly. I mean, think about
Like his arm just keeps going. Like he just pushes right past.
So then your reaction time to the ball is way less because it's faster and because it's coming at you from a shorter distance, right? So yeah, it's just big.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
yeah.
So for as much as I bash it, I do know a lot.
Yeah,
about
you
it.
Yeah, I feel like you
study
like
it. I study
baseball.
it, Yeah.
Loser.
Yeah.
So you're getting healthy now. Did you start working right away here at the Endorphin Effect where I met you?
No. So like I guess my first real job as a
So you did the personal training.
Yeah.
You got certified.
Yeah. So like I would say like a lot of my clients were just people that I knew, word of mouth, and I was like either training
Mostly kids and
outdoors,
stuff too,
yeah,
right?
a lot younger kids, more sport specific stuff. And then when I kind of like, okay, let me find a gym to work at to see if I can, pick some stuff up. I went to Export first, went there for a while, was doing pretty well.
It's a tough racket to make a lot of money doing like just personal training
Right.
at like a big box gym.
Yes, yeah.
I know a
and
few
that's-
people who try to do that, so it's just a tough job.
I just feel like there's not enough hours in the day. The amount of money you'd have to charge
Yeah.
people is just kind of right.
It's like you're working so many hours.
Yeah.
You're running yourself, just down a well of like work, and then you don't really have time to program or
Right.
time
Yeah,
for other stuff
a
because
lot
now
of
you're
them
just like
aren't
trying.
that good, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're promoting your band. You never get time to write new music.
Right.
Oh,
my
man.
God.
These
Nice
dang
little-
companies are
just
taking us out.
Coming back.
Yeah.
And so that's how I ended up over here. One of my clients told me about this place, and they're like, oh, they're a little bit more open to working with the trainers and not just like that regular base pay type of stuff. So if I was able to bring my own clients in, I was able to work some deals out to where I was getting a little bit more of a cut, so I didn't have to have as many clients, and then I can do like more group classes. And this area that you have right now, this beautiful area that we do jiu-jitsu in, and was used to be that turf room.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, our school, we're in the same building as another business called the Endorphin Effect that has like a gym, and the area that I'm now renting, subleasing from, used to be like it was like a, what would you call it? Like it was almost like
a speed room?
speed and
Yeah, I would say
conditioning room. It wasn't
yeah,
like just a
like-
gym. It was like there's a
Turf.
word I'm looking
There was
for.
turf
almost
down
like functional room.
Yeah,
Functional.
like they did a lot of classes in
So they
here.
had turf. They had a big like rogue rack that had like
Climbing and pull-ups.
a bunch of
and-
different things.
Right,
So
yeah. And they
totally
would-
different vibe. So it was like a
Right.
really good training environment.
Yeah, and it was perfect for my athletes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like I had like all these little areas that I can, have them do sprints. I can, have them, do slam ball stuff, a lot of explosive type of work. We did a lot of box jumps, sled pushes and pulls, ladder work, all that fun stuff. So I was lucky enough to be able to like utilize this room and like just bring my team in, and that was working perfect. I was like, all right, awesome. And then SBG came in right shortly after, and they took up half the side. I'm like, oh shit, now I'm not
I
running.
hate jujitsu
I'm
now.
not, I'm not almost. It was a kind of little like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I didn't like hate it, but there was like some like resentness
Yeah.
behind it. Like, oh fuck,
You're stepping on your toes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you're kind of taking my space. Like
Yeah.
what's up? Like I was really liking the spot. Like damn it, get out of here.
Now I'm going to see if I can fight.
Now I need to learn how to fight.
So you
Like,
weren't
get
training
guys-
anything
So I
yet?
wasn't training
Yeah.
yet. But that started to pique my interest a little bit.
This
'cause-
is probably where I first kind of met you. It was around that time because I was teaching yoga here.
right. Yep.
And so you were doing personal training. I kind of knew of you. I think we interacted maybe once or twice.
Yeah, very good. A lot of my clients would always talk highly about you too. Yeah, they're like,
They
oh,
love me.
Like, have you met?
They never
Joey?
met a Joey that didn't like.
And they would always ask, like, have you met Joey yet? I'm like, oh, I didn't really get to talk to
I
him.
think
Like,
you
why
didn't
would-
like me, right? From what I remember hearing something like that. Like you. were
Somebody
like,
said I didn't like
I
you.
think you said it. I think you were like, fuck this guy.
I
He's like,
wouldn't say like I didn't like you, but there was this like
you're like, I'm the Joey in town. There's only room for one Joe.
no, it was because of how much experience you had. I feel like I always felt like, oh shit, I need to step my game up. I need to kind of compete
Yeah.
with this guy. Like he's got a really good knowledge base,
Which I think
of-
that's a healthy thing.
Yeah,
You know,
which
it's like-
pushed me, which wanted to make me a better trainer because now I'm here and everybody
Which I'll
coming
say,
up.
and I think you're a very good trainer. It's like I've worked with you. You helped me with a lot of good stuff, and it's funny. It's like there's people who would talk down people like us who I didn't go to college for kinesiology. I tried for like a
Right.
week. I was going to go to NIU. I was like,
Yep.
then I was like, no, I don't want
not
to do
for
this.
me.
I want to fight. I want to.
Yeah,
I had things
yeah.
I wanted to do. I didn't want to just be around a bunch of people drinking all the time. That was like legitimately a big reason I didn't want to go to college.
Right.
Like I had goals
Yeah.
that weren't partying.
Yeah.
So it's like, but people who go to college for like kinesiology or
Yeah,
go for
yep.
their personal, they'll be like, oh, where'd you go?
Yeah.
I'm
It's like, oh, well, no.
fucking,
it's School
And
of Hard Knocks.
I've
baby.
been doing this. Yeah.
but, it's all, but and of course, with that said too, there is a lot of people who really suck at what
Right,
they're doing, and
right.
like I mean that in all sincerity, when it comes to like yoga, there's a lot of people who just are totally ignorant to what they're talking about.
Right.
They're just making shit up.
Yep.
And like they're just winging it and going off. They'll go online and just look at something and be like, I'll
Yeah,
just
and
repeat.
then try
I'll
to
parrot,
mimic.
I'll
Yeah.
parrot that and see what
Yeah.
happens. And
Yeah,
you know,
they're Ben Stiller and heavyweights. Part the wild horse's mane. Feel the flow.
that's your yoga speech.
Yeah.
We do one heavyweights reference every episode?
We should. I mean, it's the greatest movie of all time. So,
Which, hold on, but I need to pause and talk about heavyweights a
That's
little
right.
bit
Yeah,
more.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Do you feel like maybe it's a conspiracy, but do you feel like, so you remember Dodgeball?
yep.
Ben Stiller
Yep.
plays a character named White Goodman.
Yep.
White Goodman.
Is White Goodman Tony Perkins?
Tony Perkins.
Perkins.
It's not Perkins?
It's Perkins.
It's-
Yeah,
I
Tony Perkins.
think it's your
yeah,
uncle.
Perkins. Yeah,
Perkins.
I mean, he is. Yeah, he is me. Yeah.
So it's Tony Perkins.
Tony Perkins. Yeah.
Perkins.
Yep.
And White Goodman.
Yep.
Are they the same character?
They could-
They have the same voice. They're into fitness. Was it like maybe he
Reinvented himself.
what's the
reinvented
word?
himself.
Or
yeah.
like, he what happens when you go to witness protection?
Yeah, I mean that's a great.
So maybe like he
that's
like
a great connection.
that's a
movie.
good conspiracy.
like a middle movie of like him.
because it's the same character, same everything about, but he's just aged and
I think we need to watch those movies on
Yeah,
a
it's
trip. I think we need to go
one
back
of my
to back on those.
all-time
Yeah,
favorite movies, Dodgeball. Dodgeball's
That's a great movie.
fantastic.
Dodgeball's great. Dodgeball's great. Yep.
I mean, arguably the one of the funniest movies of all time, if you think about it.
Dodgeball was one of the first movies that made me hyper notice the thing they say about most actors more than your average human are left-handed, right?
Most actors are more left-handed.
Yeah, because it's the creative side of your brain, so they're more like reactive like that,
okay.
right? And
Are you left-handed?
And so
Yes.
you watch like Ben.
Well,
You are?
I'm left-handed in a lot of things, but not
is he
everything.
amphibious?
And
Yeah,
I'm
we
an
said that.
amphibian.
It was
cold,
I'm an
remember?
amphibian.
I was like,
Amphibian.
are you serious?
That was great.
I think he was just kidding.
Yeah,
right?
he was kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Maybe he
so funny.
wasn't,
Yeah,
though.
it was so funny.
We love Colton, but
Colton's
sometimes I question. Remember at the door?
The door.
Have you ever told him that we saw him do that?
No, that was the greatest thing.
And then
yeah.
he was like, I didn't want to open it. I was like, I don't think you could. We love Colton.
college, baby.
Yeah. So like he went to college. So
Yeah.
that's a good example. So he went to college for I think like some type of kinesiology.
Yeah, I
maybe?
mean, he was talking about it today. Just I was,
He's a smart guy,
Yeah.
super smart guy.
Yep.
So he's educated when it comes to his fitness and stuff. It's like you still have so much value to give to someone as long as you put the work in.
Yes.
So where you put the work in is different.
Yeah.
Right.
I
So
agree.
obviously, if you paid money to go to college, you paid money to go to college. Hopefully, you learned a lot. I know a lot of people who went to college for that specific thing where they were like, I'm going to be into the fitness world, and most of them are just gym teachers.
Right.
And they don't really
Yeah.
offer as much as you possibly could. You know what I mean?
Well, think
that's
about-
not to say anything bad about gym teachers or anything, but it's just it's
Right.
not just education that makes someone valuable.
I agree.
Colton's one of those people who's a great example of like went to college on a athletic scholarship for football.
But got something out of college.
Yes, took the benefit out of college
Yes.
where he probably still
can
could have
do that?
went and got the degree.
What's that?
I said, "Oh, you can do that."
Yeah,
Well,
you could have stuck around.
shit, I could have stuck around.
Yeah, I mean, but still went.
Fuck it. Let's start a band.
Let's just do a band.
But he probably could
Do
have
that.
got his degree without learning a lot. You know what I'm saying? And just doing football
For sure.
And then went and taught gym. You know, like you're
and I
saying.
think-
And instead,
so it's just a choice,
Yeah.
right? Do you want to be valuable in the world or not?
that's the biggest that's the biggest tip I give if like kids going to high school and stuff. I mean, that's something like I just goofed off in high school, and like I look back and go like they were teaching me some stuff that I would stay up late now and look up on Wikipedia and have to read about Andrew Jackson and go like I think they taught us about
Yeah,
this.
maybe, yeah.
I remember that name.
But I just gravitated towards the shit I liked.
Yes.
So that's just the facts of it. And even as a kid in high school, I wasn't very, not very good at school,
Yep.
quote unquote, like what that means, like to be good at it. Like I didn't get great grades because I didn't care.
Yep.
But I was already fascinated with what I was fascinated. I was already doing at 14 years old. I was already obsessed. I was already doing what I do now. Just wasn't as good as I was.
Right.
Yep.
Right? It's like if I could go back in time, I'd be better. I would have tried even harder. If I could talk to myself. But I do think it's like it's how bad do you want it? Like you don't have to be the person who goes to college to become whatever it is that you
Right.
want to. If you want to become an expert in some field,
Yeah.
There's a couple different routes you could take.
agree,
But
yeah.
just interesting. Maybe I'm just defending the fact that I didn't go to college. I don't know.
But I mean, there's a lot of like.
But I'd say you're a very intelligent guy, Kyle.
I try.
You know what I mean? I think I really do. I believe it. I say
Yeah.
it. Like you're a very smart guy, and smarts. Like the idea of like smarts is like everyone is smart.
Yep.
Every person has the ability to be smart. It's just like where do they put their attention?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. What's your thing that you like? I mean, that's what I've always said. Yeah, like about schooling, is it just like no one has ADD for things that they like.
Yeah, right?
ADD only came around when you had school, but I've never seen a kid.
Attention deficit disorder.
I've never seen a kid who had attention deficit while they're like playing Modern Warfare and they're
Yes.
like, well, what's for dinner?
Yeah.
No, that doesn't
That's
happen.
so
Yeah,
true.
They're in
locked
Modern
in.
Warfare,
Yep, they're
bro.
in.
Like,
God,
you know,
yeah,
They're
I mean,
living
that's
it. Yep.
completely true. Now, of course, those kids need to be able at certain times to be able to work through their lack of interest.
Yep.
I think that's a skill, and that's maybe something to try to communicate. That's the same thing. Like when I'm sitting there trying to do math, like I was like, fuck it, I want to do something else, right?
Yep.
But yeah, so that's very interesting though, because you can't say someone actually has it then.
Yep.
If it's like it's only case by case of what they enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great example of what you said. So, this podcast is a great example of you were explaining just the struggle of you figuring out how to get this thing online. That was like one of the, it was
Just problem solve.
yeah, it was a lot of,
But I was willing to spend way too much time to try to figure it out.
Yep.
Whereas a smarter person would have gotten it done a lot quicker.
But
now I know, and now it's done, and I promise you it'll only get better.
yeah.
Right.
So I was having like the same. My aunt just came up with my grandma. Was from Kentucky, and I was talking to her, and she wanted to do this thing where she like would read books online for people and then record it and like load it up for people to read it. And she's like, I don't know how to load it up online. And I was
Send
like,
her my way.
I was like, you can
I
figure
could
it
do
out.
it.
I
I'll make
guarantee
her a
you,
podcast.
you
She
could
can do the whole
Google it
thing.
and figure it out.
Tell
It's-
Grandma
yeah.
I'll help her.
Yeah, awesome.
We're gonna get
We're
Grandma
gonna help you
on the
flow.
podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna get flow in the
Grandma
podcast.
Perkins.
She's gonna
Grandma,
read a book.
Grandma
Otherwise-
Ride All, baby. Yeah.
Right on.
Awesome.
But what my point is that like you chose then to try to develop a skill set.
Yes.
So you can become a personal trainer,
Right.
become an asset. And that's where I met you, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
do that.
Yep.
So how's jiu-jitsu? Let's get to it. Where
All
the
right.
hell? Where the
Yeah.
hell does jiu-jitsu
Why-
get into this?
When did this
So then I
start?
start my school
started your
because you
school.
didn't train at all before RMMA.
No, I did not. So you guys still had the half mat, and I was still able to.
So we opened our school, which is where I think like a couple days from our 2-year anniversary of our our big school, like
Grand
the
opening.
full the grand opening, which we were open for like a soft open for 8 months before then or whatever, 8 or something like that, 7 months, I don't know. We started March 1st, 2021.
And then we scraped with the Fort Rocco.
Do you remember that?
Oh, that was a rough day.
God, my
That was a-
blisters. So many blisters. So that cool turf that you liked so much,
Yep.
Jay, was a pain,
Was a
in
pain in
the
the ass to
ass
remove.
Let me
to
tell you,
remove.
me and Joey
We had
immediately
blisters.
realized why we just
Why?
do jiu-jitsu all the time.
I
Yeah.
like Rocco was a machine.
Just
Rocco
a
was
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Rocco, we'll say it. I talked to Rocco today. He's coming tomorrow for the
Oh, nice.
Halloween party.
All right.
He got us a really awesome pinata. Did I show
okay,
you?
yeah.
It's,
Oh,
a,
that's
it's a Chucky pinata. Well,
Oh, good.
I'll show you.
It deserves a beating.
It's so awesome.
we
But without Rocco, here's a Chucky
oh, that's perfect.
pinata.
good.
I'll post a photo if anyone wants to see it, or we'll send some videos of us knocking this thing
Yeah.
out tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go.
But without Rocco, none of that would have worked, right?
No.
So we started our school in March, and you weren't training right away. I don't.
Nope.
So
No,
yeah.
I still, it's still a while before
So
I
you
even
see us,
jumped in.
you see us, and you're like, "Fuck those guys! They stole my space.
took my
They took the
spot.
whole room.
They took our job.
Took my job. So as you guys started taking over the whole place, then like they knocked down a little wall and kind of made that smaller space, the turf area, which not big turf. Like you can't really get to full speed there, but you
Yeah,
can
it
still
wasn't
do
long
some.
enough for you to do
Right,
what
like
you're doing before.
what the athletes
Yeah,
that I
we
was
took over.
training, were needing. So we found other spaces to train them out of, which is fine. But then a lot of my classes were in that area, just kind of going through the motions, and a lot of things in my life started to change. This is when I guess we're exes now, but we were engaged and getting ready to, just kind of do everything together and all that fun stuff. But after we separated, I was just now left with like a void of like, okay, where do I go from here? I had a lot of different life changing, like as we kind of went through
this is a
scenarios.
new-
now
new
this
big
is
change in your life.
right? And it just so happened around this time, Jaden's baseball career is now coming to an end. I'm not coaching as much anymore because now he's in high school. So he's got his own high school coach, and then I would just do the summer league with him. So I know I'm like, okay, he's got one more year left. He says he's kind of done. He doesn't want to play college ball. I completely back him up with that.
In your head, was there pressure? Like, not. I mean, obviously, I know you're mature enough not to be like, you need to do it, but Like, did you feel that though
It's
as a
a
dad?
good
Like,
dream.
Yeah, it's a good dream. It's a good dream. One of my favorite videos.
I can't force it on you.
That's your dream. You can't.
yeah.
Put it. It's a good dream. Yes, I
good
can.
dream.
I don't know what movie that is.
Neither do
think
I,
it's,
but is it
I
like
think it's like We Bought a Zoo.
Okay.
Is that
with
Oh,
Matt
really?
Damon.
Some goofy movie like that?
No, it's a good movie.
Oh, it's a good movie.
I think it's like a legit movie.
That sounds
yeah,
like
it's a really
supposed
good
to be.
movie.
That sounds like a goofy Ben
Well,
Stiller.
no,
like,
no, it's a-
museum comes alive movie. You know?
Wait, I thought we liked Ben Stiller. Ben
Stiller's all right.
Yeah, dodgeball.
He does make some goofy ones.
No, it's Matt Damon. Anyone who doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, it's some video of Matt Damon yelling at his son. And I think it's We Bought a Zoo. I could be wrong. And his dream was to own a zoo. And the son's like, I don't want to own a zoo. And he's like, it's a good dream. So did you have that talk with your son of like, you need to play baseball?
No, I was like, so I wanted him to know that I 100% backed his decision. I didn't want him to have any doubt of like, oh, I got to do this for my dad, or I got to do this, you know, for my family or for whoever else is out there. It was 100% his decision, and I wanted him to know that he had my full support of whatever he wanted to do. So once he kind of made that decision, I knew, I'm like, all right, I'm no longer in needing to be giving all of my time to coaching, because that took up a lot of time. If anybody out there has any kids in travel sports at all, they know like it just eats up any
Every weekend,
any free time that you have, you are dedicated to that sport. And then, like you said, every single weekend there's a tournament, and it starts on Friday and it goes until Sunday, and you're there the damn near the whole time.
24/7.
Yeah. Saturday you're there from like 9 a.m. until like 10 o'clock at night.
Yep.
You're there, and then
Watching the most exciting sport in the world.
And if your team is good, oh man, let me tell you,
Speed,
wow, those kids
those
can really
2.5 hour games are really something.
2-0.
Yeah, it was 1-0. Yep.
Wow, that game was close.
Oh,
Yeah.
0-0. We're going extra innings.
All right.
You got your flag team.
Can I get another hot dog, please?
I get when it's your son.
But-
It's no
but-
matter. I'm sure it's always exciting.
But even as a coach, there's the intricacies of baseball, like the little things, the game within the game, that kept me locked in.
That's
so
awesome.
like,
Yeah, we're just making jokes. I'm sure it's
exactly,
great.
and that I
you know,
am too.
Let's make fun of. Sometimes jiu-jitsu is pretty boring, guys.
Jiu-jitsu is so boring
Like,
sometimes.
and
yeah.
especially kids. Like,
Yeah.
like we're coaching is not to say bad about any of the kids, but like, come on,
Yeah.
do something. I'm just kidding.
You'll see him sitting there for a while. You start like watching another match. Like, oh no, sorry.
I gotta be
Keep
here.
holding up. Doing good. Keep holding.
You're
30
doing
seconds.
great.
No, but so now you have a lot more free time.
So now
'cause-
I know I'm getting some free time, and I knew if I was gonna pick up, because I started having some interest in it. I'm like, I wonder how I would do. And then even like with you kind of being around my size, I never once thought like I can beat you up, but I'm like, I wonder what it would be like
Joey's.
to get into
Battle
a
of the
fight
Joeys.
with Joey, the real
Really? You
deal.
thought that?
I always thought like
Well,
I wonder
we
how
found out,
badly
motherfucker.
we did. We sparred. We sparred, and I found out real quick. But not so much like I wanted to
one
like
Joey
fight
to
you.
another.
Yeah. I didn't want to like an MMA
Like a
fight type
Highlander?
of stuff. But like I knew I'm like I wonder how I would grapple against you, or how
That's
I would do
awesome. I
against
love
you.
that. I mean, legitimately, I know it sounds crazy, but I think about that with everyone. Any human being I see, I was like, what would it be like if I fight that person?
size that
It
guy
sounds
up.
kind of crazy,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's mentally not healthy. But like if I walk in the room, I'm like, I think about it. I'm like, if that person attacked me, I'm like that guy would be difficult to deal with.
Right.
I would probably try this or try
Right.
that.
How would I
like,
choke
just
everybody?
being honest, I know it's like not. I think there's a good way to do it, like healthy way to. I don't vocalize it to them. I don't tell them, but I am always thinking about that. So I get
Right.
it.
It's the two guys at Fight
if
Club
I
on the
meet some-
bus.
yeah.
You know, they see the model and they're like, yeah, fight him.
And especially if I see another Joey, I'm like,
I'm taking that.
yeah. He's on. It's on.
And that's like probably one of the things too, because we were kind of sharing the space, I would deadlift on this side because we didn't have that other room to do deadlifts.
Trying to show
Just
it.
to show him what's up.
So I wanted to show Joey, like, hey, look at this 315 I'm lifting. Like I can
I'm like,
I can
well, I
hold
can
my
do
own.
350.
And I can guarantee you, Joey's sitting over there looking, I can whoop that kid's
Yeah.
ass.
Yeah.
Like I would fucking
Yeah, it's
destroy
a-
him.
it's a-
Look at him just trying to lift weights
your
like he
weights.
knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
Pick it
but,
up.
I mean, it's funny. It's like for me, like martial arts, it's a lifestyle. It's what I do. So like no matter what, any other hobby that people are doing, I personally feel like your time could be better spent doing, it, not taking away the things that you do, but adding jujitsu, adding martial arts to your life.
Right.
I feel like is a benefit.
Right.
Not everyone's going to agree with me. That's just my personal belief. of how beneficial martial arts is. You know, and it's like, so I see you as a personal, and I just knew you, I didn't know anything about you. Like,
Right.
he's a personal trainer.
Yeah.
He's doing it. And I could tell that you were really into mobility, which that's a big part of my life. Like, you know, I was big into, you know, for those who don't know my background, I was like big into teaching movement classes, which, you know, most people called yoga. I just called them movement
Right.
classes, but it was all about joint health and movement. And, you know, I was like, oh, Jay's in that. Like, he really should do jiu-jitsu. Like, and I don't think I ever broached you with it and said to you, like, hey, let's come try this. So I don't know. How did you start? Why did you start? What day? I don't remember.
It was a Monday. No.
It was
The day.
The day was gloomy.
my
It was-
life
it was-
changed. I became Jay.
I just kind of told myself, like, I was probably watching like a lot of inspirational like clips and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like wake up early, do this, you know, like get your day started
Some
going.
Jocko in your brain.
And I'm like, you know what? There's some 6 a.m. classes. I think I can, you know, wake my ass up and, you know, just try one just to see what's going on. And that was just, there was nothing that really like told me like to go do it or like that pushed me. I'm like, well, I got some free time. I should be doing something more. I feel like I could improve in myself.
Life-wise,
Yeah,
like, you have
right.
more
yeah.
time now. Yeah.
So I want to, you know, try this new adventure out and, you know, coming in here. My very first class, we were working Kimuras, and I'm like, oh, I know that. I've heard of that.
seen that, yeah.
I've seen that. I think I know how to do it. Like, maybe not that great. I'm like, cool, I'm going to learn the grip. And so we're drilling and doing some stuff, and, you know, we break off, and then he calls us back in. And for some reason, this is always going to stick in my mind. You show us the sideline position, and then getting the Kimura off, and then going back. But the one thing that you looked at me and just said, because you're right over the top of their head kneeling, and you're like, jiu-jitsu's weird. So like you made sure like you kind of like looked
Someone
at me
knew,
like to
yeah.
like here's the new guy, you know,
We
first
will be
6 o'clock
sitting
in the
on
morning.
people's
We're gonna
heads.
sit on somebody's head. He looked right at me like, yeah, jiu-jitsu's weird. I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm good. I'm okay with that.
Just that it's a dress. Yeah, it's a dress that
Yeah,
it's
it's-
like,
it's
yeah, we're
dress,
just
yep,
doing
yep.
this.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's
it's
go.
Legitimately, like, it's one of those things that I know it's hard for us, Kyle. We've been doing it for so long to remember how weird it is. So like, I try to always bring that back up to people. When I know someone's new in the room, I'm going to try to make them not feel uncomfortable
And that
by
was-
just saying
yeah.
it out loud. Like, hey, I
It
know
was
it's weird.
perfect.
You're sitting
Yeah.
on someone, you know?
Yep.
And that's
Get used to it.
exactly what I needed to hear too, because like you're nervous, you don't know what to expect, and you know you don't want to make
So
a
that
fool of
first
yourself.
experience was fun. You had a
Oh
good
my
time?
God, it was.
So
the
how
greatest.
did you know? So like, I would say, just to talk about Jay is, you know, like we already said, you know, like every Joey, you're a little obsessed. So he's really jumped in.
Yeah.
Like his time card, if you look at it, is very impressive. The amount of hours that you dedicated to jiu-jitsu right
Yeah.
off the bat.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and you progress quick. You understood things. I think that's from your baseball background of athleticism. So he like picks things up really smoothly. You know, it's like, but there has to be a moment, obviously, and maybe it is that first class, but you're like, oh, I'm going to do this, not just like as like for a little bit of fun, but I'm actually going to try.
Right.
You know, I'm going to try to get a lot of classes and learn, and you know, and then you actually end up competing and everything.
Yeah.
So
So-
like, when did you know?
So that was a little bit further down the line when I knew that I really want to start dedicating more time and energy into this. At first, it was just like I just wanted like a new hobby. I want to, you know, challenge myself and see how I would do. Like, because I'm getting a lot older, you know, life's catching up, and maybe I was going through a midlife crisis. Who knows, right? Who knows?
Midlife
But I'm just
crisis.
like,
I've had 10 of
yeah,
those.
I had 10 of those.
32.
At 15, I had one.
So like I remember like there's a point where it was after like a training session. I'm driving home and I'm just like thinking to myself, I'm like, what am I doing right
Really?
now? Yeah, 100%. I'm like, am I just, you know, I don't know. It was like the weirdest feeling. Like I didn't think that what I was doing could benefit me or I don't know, but it was just something where like I'm wrestling around with a bunch of grown men. I'm beating myself up. I'm, you know,
Getting choked.
why am I doing this? Like, what's the reason? So I had to kind of like dig
Your
deep
why,
and ask
yeah.
myself, like, what's the reason behind this? And I think it just kind of circled back into just being the best version of myself that I want to be. And in the hardships that I started to see in jiu-jitsu and overcoming that, it just like, holy shit, like this, I haven't felt this type of passion since I was playing high school, college ball. Like nothing compared to it. Playing on stage was awesome. It was fun. It was all those things, but like nothing really pushed you to that that point of like just knowing that I am stuck, I'm in a bad grind, I am not good right now. How do I get out of this? And not just in a pin, but like, how do I just break this barrier of not knowing or being bad at something? And that challenge was just like, okay, I broke through one little barrier. What's the next one? What's that next challenge that I can do? And going through all of those steps in my life, I would agree with you now that like, I feel like everybody should try some form of martial arts. Right. And I think jiu-jitsu is a phenomenal martial art because a lot of it too is like understanding how to fall, understanding how to get back up properly. And I think we've talked about this before. It's like you're only as old as you are on your capabilities of getting up. Like if you can't get up after a fall.
Yeah, I mean, I know young people really who are very old because they have no ability to impact the ground and get back up well.
Right.
Stiff.
So a great example of this, I was rolling this morning, and one of I mean, you remember Steve Caro? So one of the guys who trained, Steve has just turned 57, and we were black belt, got his black belt pretty recently. You know, he's trained for probably like 20 something years and just got his black belt because same thing. Steve was in a band and, you know, has other stuff in his life. But we were wrestling today and, you know, we had an exchange and I double legged him. And, you know, the thought that went through my mind is, you know, if you think about double leg, I mean, pretty much just tackled him to the ground. And if I not only was he fine, but he like grabbed a Kimura and ended up reversing me. And I was just like, if I tackled any other 57-year-old man, they'd be so hurt and messed up. And, you know, like, so like, that's amazing to me.
We shouldn't pick on, how old's your dad?
So yeah, I mean, I think my dad's 70, but I know my dad at 57, if I would have tackled him, he would not be doing well, you know? And, you know, you take your, you know, my dad's diabetic. So, you know, since he's been 17, he's had something trying to kill him his whole life, you know? So yeah, but I mean, to pick up. No, it's like, yeah, my dad,
my point is like,
he's a frailer guy, you know?
Like 57 is no joke.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So like, that's beautiful to see. Like jiu-jitsu has made him, and of course he's got some little injury. Everyone's got a little something.
Yeah, but Steve's out there, man.
That's a guy I rolled with him last week, and it was a blast. It was so much fun to roll with because it's been a while.
Yep.
And it was cool. You know, I love stuff like that. And you know, even you know, it's not to make you feel old, but like fucking, you know, at 40 years old,
next month.
I'm telling you, if we go back in time to the 80s, a 40-year-old was like fucking old.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Think of and let's go Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
Back in the 1800s. 40 years old. By 40 years old, that man already has been shot. He's, you know, I'm like, you're an old man. Yeah. Like, and like to still be, you're just scrapping up. I mean, me and Jay, we get rough, dude.
Yeah.
We have fun. I love it. Yeah. And I enjoy it. Like that's, you know, that's fun.
Oh, I agree.
So, you know, it's funny that you had that moment and you're driving home. You're like, I'm just wrestling with, you know, these kids. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Like, why am I doing
But the fact that you find joy in that now and like you've gotten growth from it and you've gotten stronger, you've gotten better. It's badass.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, like you're getting younger.
I agree.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
You know
I feel
you
so
might not
much,
feel like it every single day. Some days you wake up, I'm sure you.
Yeah. And a lot of people like look at me like if I'm like, I'm babying this and doing that.
It's like,
but it's like, why are you doing that then? Well, I'm like, you have the same injuries and you're not doing any combat sport-wise.
We always say that.
So it's like the fact that you and I are feeling the same way, but by the end of the day, because I'm moving throughout the whole day. And that's not just to say, because I'm a trainer and I'm at a gym all the time, I have the time to do it. No, I find like little moments, like 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there of like, oh shit, my shoulder's a little wonked up. Let me try to do some internal, external rotation, get some blood flow going into that area. And okay, now I can move a little bit better and let me go about my day.
And we know why our bodies hurt. Right?
Right.
I know what I did, and I know I put the effort in.
Sometimes I forget why.
But
what happened?
Kyle is
Kyle's triangling me for 10 minutes yesterday.
Those have been some of the great days. I've had a few days like where I came in and I've just been like, Joey, my neck's killing me. And he's like, I was choking you for 10 minutes yesterday. You wouldn't tap. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. You're stubborn, man. You don't tap.
But then I would rather have that than like.
I woke up.
Yeah, my back doesn't work because I sit at a desk all day and I sneeze. Yeah, exactly. You know, like that's it.
So the facts are, we're all gonna be in pain. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to be in pain doing something that is, number one, enjoyable. So it could be baseball too, right? Like anything you like doing something you do.
You can get sore playing baseball.
I don't know. Or you know, doing something you love, and also something that makes you better. Like no matter what, I know every day I'm learning. My brain is so much more engaged doing something. Right? Like I'm legitimately every day studying and learning with a physical game. Not many people get to do that. So I'd rather that be how I'm like my achy, bones,
Yeah.
or it could just be lazy and lay around and be like my achy bones. So we're all going to be in pain. You might as well pick something active.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So you fell in love, huh?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I would say
I went all
Jay's,
in.
I can tell he's all in. So like,
all in.
So in. I mean, the thing for me that made me notice it was just the rapid evolution of your game. Like when I'd be rolling with you, and then like just like a week later, I'd be like, oh, geez, like he's getting a lot better. Yeah,
that's a compliment to you in the sense of, I think every really good jiu-jitsu practitioner and also good at anything has the ability to adapt. Like you were saying with Ronnie today, you mentioned that idea about in class, like you did something to him, and then the next time you tried to do it, and he made corrections,
made his adjustments,
and like you've been doing that since, and I would say it's cool because you do have that schedule where you've been training a lot.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of personal time with you. I get to roll with you. I mean, we roll all the time, and like every time I do something, you were smart enough to even ask a question about it. We fix it, we do something, and then I can see that just grow your game, and it's like. Those folds of learning is so beneficial.
Yeah.
And some people would love to be able to do that, but they don't get the chance.
Right.
So it's like,
And
don't take it for granted. You come in, you want to learn, and you try to get better because, you enjoy it.
Right. And I feel like I kind of lucked out like completely with my situation and not having any, like in freshman year, they wanted me to wrestle. So like the football coach, because that's the year I did try out for football. And they're like,
screw that, baseball, man.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I need to dedicate more time to baseball. But so I have like no real wrestling background, no grappling or anything like that. So like kind of coming into this and hearing some horror stories from other individuals in our school talking about other places that they've trained and like the way that they do things and how their layouts, it could work for some, but for the majority, like a lot of injuries are happening and just the way things are done, it may not be up to par. So the only thing I know is the way that you do your curriculum. So I'm like, oh, this is phenomenal. Like I can follow along very well. There's a great storyline that's being told here, and I can connect the dots, and then from one module to the next module there's some connections, and so I think you do a phenomenal job of like bringing everything full circle. And I kind of maybe take that for granted sometimes because like I don't know the other avenues of how people do it.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, but that kind of drove me.
Put a lot of work into this.
Yeah, and you can see
it,
right? And I feel like that's how I do a lot of like my practices. When I was coaching baseball, there was a lot of reasoning behind the stuff. I'm not just throwing a practice together just to fill up 2 hours of time. I'm like, shit, I got 2 hours of time that I need to start implementing ideas to these kids, and not just like, well, here's a ground ball, field it, throw it to first, great job.
Yep.
Next, here's a ground ball, field it, throw it to first.
Because I mean, it is so easy to like fake structure a class,
right?
It is.
Like it really is.
You can phone it in.
You can definitely phone it in.
We're
right?
gonna do 15 minutes of ground balls. We're gonna do 15 minutes,
then,
fly balls.
and now we're done.
We're
And
doing
then,
30 minutes of hitting.
And then go run because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So like, let's run.
It's definitely the lazy way out.
Yeah.
As a coach, and
so to see that structure, because it's like I put a lot of time and energy into my structure of my classes, even like for fitness and everything too.
And that's
There's
what I
rhymes
know.
and reasons.
That's the reason why I know. You do well as a personal trainer. People connect to you. We have some mutual friends who work together.
Yes.
And like they could tell that you put effort towards what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's the first thing that I connected with you on is like your ability to sit down and think about why should we do this versus that. Is there a reason? And you even said like when you were driving home, you asked yourself, why am I doing this? It's like it just all goes back to like purpose and why. And like that's everything I do in terms of teaching is all based on that question. The how stuff is actually pretty easy. Anyone who has a black belt in jiu-jitsu kind of knows how to do stuff.
Yeah.
Like you know how to do something. You could easily say, do this, do this, do this. That's how. But like the why, like why are we learning it the way we're learning it? How does this connect is a more interesting connection, or question. So, that why is really the key. If you want to be good at teaching, start thinking about why. Like, why are you even teaching this?
Yeah. I took that a lot from when I was playing football. Like I just there's 11 guys in the field and they all have like different jobs. And if you know your job and you just do your job, like you'll be good, right? But if you know why you're doing your job, you can
How's it connect to
amplify
the
your
other
ability
Yeah.
so much
That's
better to
beautiful,
be
yeah.
able to do it. Yeah, it was just that was a big thing for me of just like, especially like a lineman kind of thing. Of
So
just
like a real sport, football?
yeah,
Oh,
like a
okay.
man
Yeah,
sport,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
like a man
yeah,
sport.
Yeah, one where you got to actually warm
Well,
up.
if
a
I can
little
say
bit.
something about baseball, it's kind of similar. You got to know where your outfielders are
Yeah,
and
but you
making
don't
sure
have
that
to
you're
actually hit each other.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's
No, I
just,
love that.
yeah.
That's really cool to think about that because it's also that kind of goes into like coaching too. Because like if you really want to, you could be like you said, like good at your spot, good at your position,
Yep.
and be like that's all I care about. But if you really want to be good, you got to know everyone's
Yep.
role, and like
Yep.
that's
Yep.
almost like the leadership quality that we're
Yeah.
talking about, or like a coaching.
Yep.
Is I got to know everything.
Yep.
I can't just be like I like wrestling or you like leg locks.
Yep.
I'm a leg lock guy. It's like okay, well, what value do you have beyond that? Almost nothing because you don't know how to wrestle.
Yes.
So like, all right, well, teach me how to do an ADCC. Like,
Yep.
train me for ADCC. Here's a leg lock.
Leg
again.
lock 'em, bro.
Like,
Yeah.
well, like, what if I can't leg lock him?
Yep.
Sorry, man.
man.
You know, it's like, or same thing with a wrestler. If I'm just a wrestler and I don't know how to do leg locks, I don't know how to, pass someone's guard. I don't know. It's like, we're responsible for, and that's to me is like kind of like positions almost,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I even say to people too, like just within techniques, like we can tell you why we can tell you when you take somebody's back, don't cross your ankles between their legs. We can tell you just not to do that. And if you don't do that, no one will do that crappy little foot lock to you.
Yeah.
But if you know you're not doing it so you don't get foot locked, now you kind of have the ability to cross your ankles if you want.
Yeah,
move,
that's
Yep.
nuance. That's
Yeah.
I mean, that's so much better than just telling someone what to do. Hey, don't cross your feet.
And
And
some
be like,
people,
why?
I don't know
Like,
if I would,
you get, just don't do it. It's what I've
Yeah.
been told.
Yep. And I don't know if I would say like some people are not at that level. I mean, maybe it's just at their moment or their, and so like for some people, all they're going to hear is the don't cross my ankles. Even with you explaining it to
Right.
them, sometimes that's all they hear. And that, okay, like that's an okay level to learn at.
But I think that's our goal as a martial artist is to just gain more enlightenment to
Yes.
why we're doing what we're doing.
Yes.
That's the entire purpose.
I mean, for me, like a huge, like just that rotational finish on the rear naked choke. And then like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
funny.
How
for
long you been doing jiu-jitsu? You know what I mean? Like,
and it was
think
funny to
about-
me to go back and watch like the highlight thing that I posted today.
That's what you're doing.
That's exactly how I did it. But then now, because I know that
Now
I
it's
should
even
be
better.
now it's exactly how I'm going to do it every time.
Right.
So
Yeah, if you put purpose behind anything,
Right.
even if the purpose is wrong, I would argue it's still better than just doing nothing.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Even if the purpose isn't perfect, maybe not wrong, but even if it's like, you kind of just made a purpose behind why do you do what you do, I guarantee that is going to be better than the person who's just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm just doing it. Like, you have to draw conclusions on why you're doing what you're doing. Super fascinating.
Yeah.
So should we get into some questions? I feel like we need to.
yeah. Let's do some questions.
some
Yeah.
questions.
So I mean, so you started. We kind of had your. It was a good origin story. So like Jay, to summarize, Jay went from baseball JJ baseball man,
Yep.
to Jay the drummer.
Jay the drummer.
Jay the drummer is pretty badass. Riding bikes, kicking
Yeah,
ass, drinking beer.
Drinking beers, taking names.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
Didn't drink beer. It was more rum, but
Okay.
Okay. All
that was
right.
my
Rumpelstiltskin?
Rumpelstiltskin. No.
and then you came Fitness Jay,
and Fitness Jay. Yep.
which then led us to where we are now. Which
then-
I feel like you're Jiu-Jitsu Jay.
I'm
Now you're
Jiu-Jitsu.
Jiu-Jitsu
Yeah,
Jay?
I feel like that's
You're
that's where
Jay.
JJ
There's
doing
4
JJ.
Js.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just got too many J's.
J cubed.
There it is.
So some of these questions, we got some really great questions. I would say you got the most questions out of anyone that we
It's crazy.
asked. I haven't even read them all through. So this is
What
gonna be-
does J stand for? The first one.
What if you weren't
So
listening?
we kind of got into it, but like it's good for you to just kind of summarize it in a short way of like what started your journey in jiu-jitsu. Was there anything that like, I know of course it was just convenience of why did you start
Right.
here too? But like what started your journey in jiu-jitsu? Besides the fact of like, and you said like life changes. You're like, I need to fill some time to do
Right,
something,
yeah.
which is great. Like I love that. And the midlife crisis, like someone says something like that, and usually it means like I bought a car,
Right.
I got a like a toupee or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like the change in your life. But a midlife crisis doesn't have to be a crisis, but like a change in your life. And it's awesome at that.
Oh,
that's what
I think
everyone
midlife
should
crisis
have. Some,
just means it's a crisis of meaning. Like you got halfway through your life,
Now
and
what?
and you
Yeah.
realize
Like,
like
alright,
it's not
yeah.
fun time anymore. It's time to like start planning stuff, and I haven't done that anymore. And oh my god, that's like it's a mental freak out, you
Yeah.
know. And then someone goes, I have no value in my life. It's time to buy a car.
Yeah.
Now I did something at
Now I
least.
got
you know?
something, right.
Yeah.
So is that what you think your journey on jiu-jitsu, the start of it was?
Yeah, I know when I was younger, just that passion that I had for just any type of martial arts, I kind of gave me that curiosity of what's going on over there. You had a really big part in it too, just like hearing, stories about you and everything that you've done and like your MMA career. I'm like, well, this guy's legit. Like, why the hell would I not want to learn from somebody that has, your background? So like just kind of that whole thing of convenience, knowing who's teaching it, right? Knowing about you, and then just wanting to kind of dive into that and indulge in it. And I felt like it fit in well with my idea of fitness, right? And like you were kind of saying, like for some people, I'm not the traditional trainer where I'm like, all right, let's try to get your heart rate up and just get you sweating. Awesome job, high five, get out the door. I want my clients to make sure that they are feeling better than they did before they walked in. I'm very
Put a
high
new
on
philosophy too.
making sure that they're staying safe and not doing something that's just going to injure them. Like, oh well, I put this in the program for you. You just got to do it. If they tell me something's going on, all right, we're changing something on the fly. Why does your knee hurt? Why does this hurt? Let's make a new movement out of it. So I'm not big in just like 3 sets of 10, and you didn't see it, yeah, right, or just like circuit training. Not saying that's bad, because when I have high caliber athletes like yourself, if I put you through a workout, I can very easily just put together a high intensity workout for you, and you know how to do the movements properly. You have good technique. You know how to breathe. I can be there and kind of like remind you of some stuff here and there, but you're going to be able to do a good job with it. So I feel like coming into here, I'm like, well, this is going to help my fitness career. It's, great mobility. You get to kind of move around, you're twisting, you're turning, and these are things that our body needs to do. Let me go ahead and try that out. And like I said, once I started doing it, I'm like, all right, this flows perfectly. Everything that my philosophy behind the body
Training
and how it's like, this is it. And that's partially on why my card is so big, because now I was capable of moving my schedule around, and then I started doing the noon classes.
Right.
And then I'm like, well, Jaden did it for a little bit, my son. So I'm like,
Shout
well,
out to Jaden.
Yeah, it's J-Dog. He would do the night classes with me. So I'm like, all right, well, if I'm doing the noon
Now you
classes,
gotta
well,
double up.
I gotta go
And you
to
have
class
more
with Jaden
experience
too.
with it, so you can help him
so I
out.
want to
It's
help
like-
him out, and we were learning everything together. So there was that father-son bonding that was going on
which is
too as
huge.
well, which I think helped a lot of me really falling in love with it. And then, just getting to work with you a little bit more too is just like made it more.
Very, very nice to work with. And we work really well together in
agree.
terms of like our philosophy on movement and stuff. So it's been really cool for us to collaborate.
Yeah. And I feel like it's just the beginning of what we're
man,
doing
we're
right
just
now.
getting
Like
started.
we're like,
Got a lot of stuff coming down the road.
yes. Stay
Which
tuned.
we can maybe talk about. Maybe not yet. Well, this is a perfect little segue with the fitness side of it. So, and this is from Marco, just so you know.
Okay.
Last one was from Matt Ortiz
Hey.
Jr.
Nice.
Uh,
Big Junior.
yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I got to do a couple of rounds with
Did you
him.
wrestle with
yeah,
him?
yeah.
Fights with him, yeah.
Fantastic wrestler.
Yeah,
Oh my
amazing.
God, he was
Terrifying.
so
To go wrestle with him. hand
I remember
fight
it was
with him,
supposed
oh
to
my
be
God.
supposed to be my light day.
Oh, nice.
It was a competition
Oh,
class.
you got stuck with him?
Right. And so I was rolling with you,
Yep.
and then Matt is like, Kyle, you're with me.
College
And then
wrestler.
he sends his son over, which I didn't know was his son at the time. I'm like, well, these guys look kind of similar.
Yeah.
Like I had an
Matt's
idea
gotten
that they
big.
could be.
I knew Matt when he was a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm like,
He's a
he is
man
beast
now.
now.
And then like he started walking over towards me. I'm like,
Oh, shit.
Here
Here
we go.
This is gonna be a tough class.
He's awesome,
And then
though.
I think somebody else came in, and then you like ended up switching and pairing up. I think you and I ended up rolling for the rest of the night. So I was
Nice.
like, okay, it's still not an easy night, but
I
at
still
least
roll.
at least Joey
I'm
knows I
nothing-
have a competition
I'm nothing near as
tomorrow.
physical. That guy's
I still got stuck with his dad.
Yeah, you still- yeah,
I
let's
love
say you
rolling
still-
Matt.
yeah.
That's good.
Matt, shout out
Matt
to Matt.
Ortiz.
He wrote your
Matt's the
question
man.
too. But this one's from our good friend Marco. First, he said, "You're the man, Jay,"
All
and he
right,
said,
shout
"Jay,
out.
just the
Just
letter."
the letter.
Oh
Boom.
man.
He said, "If you had to pick one go-to workout for jits,
Oh.
what would it be?" Which, by the way, I hate when people say jits.
Really?
You like it?
I I wouldn't say I hate it. It doesn't cross my mind to bug
I guess
me.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, it doesn't
but
bug me.
I always read it and I laugh.
I need to see it. It's got to have a Z. So you got a Z? Okay, yeah, that is cool.
What would it be? What would be your go-to workout if you had to pick one for jiu-jitsu? That's a good question.
Yeah, it's not a bad question. I kind of like that. I love deadlifts, and I know that's not just for jiu-jitsu or anything like that, but I think that the hamstring, the whole posterior side chain of our body needs to get stronger. But I don't know if that's the best one for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's a good question, but jiu-jitsu specific. I mean, we've had some conversations about what I believe is like kind of missing in the fitness side of for jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sure there's a bunch of ideas.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of, and I would say something to do with rotation. Like if you can get a good movement where you can get some good rotational of your trunk, because I feel like myself when I first started, my spine, just my rotation of it was not that good. I had really good. I can move
so
my
like
hips
for like
very
guard
well.
retention.
Yeah. But then the second, like I try to invert or just do anything where I'm bringing my hips above head, I felt like I was struggling. So what I would say for most people, if they're like starting off in jiu-jitsu, you can do heels to the sky, which is a core movement where you're just bringing your hips up off the floor. It's like you're trying to bring your feet towards the ceiling.
Rotation.
And then once you get your feet up, try to hold that pose and then slowly come down.
So am I thinking kind of like toes to bar?
Yeah, but from
but
the
on
ground.
the floor.
Okay.
Yeah.
That toes bar would be a harder version in my
Yes.
opinion.
Yeah.
I think more like pike pulses then?
Think of like your like triangle hip lifts.
Okay.
That
Okay.
idea.
Awesome.
So getting up on the dragon, tail. Some people call it whatever.
Yeah,
the
right.
Bruce Lee,
That would be a little bit harder
Yeah.
version of it. This
Bruce Lee
is
style.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the thing is like I can see there's some people that can do that move, but they're not. They're using like more
just
momentum,
throwing it
and they're
up.
just kind of throwing their legs and like riding that wave
But
up.
that like especially like inversions, right?
Yeah.
Being able to get up onto your shoulder points and be able to hold that.
So it's the control aspect I think would be the bigger end of that. Like it's not just doing heels to the sky and throwing your ass off the floor and let it plop right back
And
down.
I would
It's
say, like,
controlling that lower.
a lot of that is like the isometric tension that we
Correct.
talked
yeah.
about. That I
Ooh,
think
hollow
like,
bodies.
Yeah,
I think
hollow-
I fell in love with
Yeah,
those.
Jay got
a little
obsessed with
bit.
hollow body.
Hollow
Too
bodies,
much.
little too much for a while.
we were like doing 5-minute hollow
Yeah.
body holds for a while. We're like, Jay, I don't think we
It's
should.
horse dances that we were doing the 5
but
minutes.
no, we
but
did-
the very
we did
first
one time we
time,
did
the
it
very
with-
first time, I think it was a 2 or 3
Hollow bodies
minute
we did,
hollow
like,
body. There's
in
a
a row.
3-minute hollow body hold, and I was like, after
I was
2
like,
minutes,
this
I'm
is
like,
too
what am I
much, I'm
doing?
dying.
Yeah, I remember following this
Like, we
guy
need
who
to cut that down a
had me
little
in a
bit.
program doing hollow body rock. So you would hollow,
Yeah, I love
and
that.
then
That's a
good
you
one.
would rock
Yes.
back and
Yeah.
forth, and then
Gymnastics
you'd,
bodies.
and then you'd roll over to Superman in the same
Okay,
position.
yes,
Then you
yep.
then you arch
Yeah,
rock,
yeah.
back and forth. That was so
Killer
hard.
workouts.
Yeah. So the I'd say those
Nice.
two.
Some core work.
Some core work. I think that would be the best.
We got you, Marco. Don't worry. This one's a good one. I like this one a lot. What keeps you motivated for jiu-jitsu after starting later than most? Being an older guy who starts jiu-jitsu, what keeps you motivated?
What keeps you motivated?
And that's from
being an
Sergio.
old man?
He's basically calling you old as fuck.
I'm pretty sure.
It's
he
young
is.
Sergio.
Thanks,
We love
Serge.
Sergio.
What keeps me motivated?
I mean, it is
Staying away from the
interesting.
grave.
Just trying to show these young bucks what's up.
I
That's
mean,
my.
it is
It's
that is
being able to
interesting.
still beat up my son.
Yeah.
I have to keep up with him.
I like
'cause
that.
He's
a
strong
tough kid,
man.
super
He's-
strong.
yeah,
He
he's
could be
a big
really
boy.
good. I hope we can get him training again.
I think so. I think in the future, near
Yeah.
future, he should be coming
But,
back because I'm
he's
trying to
got-
get my nephew too, and they're the same age.
Okay,
they're a
cool.
couple months apart. So my nephew's a little bit older. Blake, shout out to Blake Powell.
Powell.
Yeah.
His son's just got to start driving a truck and start a band, and
He's
then
gotta start-
once he does all that,
Once he gets all that done and out of the way, then
Yeah.
he can come.
When
to
he's
jiu-jitsu. 'Cause
40.
he did his baseball career.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
his baseball career is done. Now he's just
He's
got to
on
start
the
playing
road,
drums.
yeah.
So he's on.
And I'm
He's
gonna
on
start
his
calling
way
him
here.
Jay.
He's on his
But
way
it is
here.
interesting when you think about like the age question, because I've never met someone who trains jiu-jitsu who wishes that, or who thinks that they start at the right time. Everyone wishes they
Wishes to
started
start
younger,
Yeah.
right? Like everyone. I've never heard anyone not say that, or like with you, like not wrestling, you'd
Yep.
be like, I wish I would have wrestled, you know,
Yep.
or something. Like everyone feels that way when they get into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And like myself, I started at 14, and I still wish I would have started jiu-jitsu at like 5.
Right.
You know, like I see some kids, I was like, man, it's amazing what they're doing. So
Look at that
Yeah, I was,
headset.
I was talking to Killian the other day. And he's like, "Man, I wish I would have started at 2."
I know. Yeah. That's
I wish I would have started.
That's another
at 2.
question. Is we'll talk about Killian soon. But is there anything that keeps you extra motivated, being that you're a little bit of an older grappler?
I don't know if it's like extra motivated or anything, but it's more so like the I just love the environment and the community that we have. So it's like, if I don't show up, I feel like I'm letting my team down. I'm letting my family down in a sense. You know, like I got to be there for the team, and just knowing that everybody else has got their grind too, and their hardships, and they're pushing through that to get here. Like I just love that. I love that accountability that we have for one another, and I think that's just what keeps me drive.
And you're a team captain, man. You're Captain J.
The way I've heard that is you're always somebody's favorite training partner.
Yeah.
If you don't show up, that's a hard day for them.
Honestly, man, and you've been there for me for like times when I had to train really hard, like and to say like, oh, you're too old. Like, no, dude, Jay's the man. He's the match. He's a tough match.
Appreciate that.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Which that goes into another one. It's like, and I'm sure you've mentioned some ideas behind this, but it'd be cool for you to say it again. It's like, this is from Matt Ortiz Sr.
All right.
It's like, how has jiu-jitsu changed your everyday life?
Ooh, that's
what I mean? Because of course, like we've talked about jiu-jitsu and how it's affected your life, and now that you're really into it.
Yeah.
But like your everyday life is an interesting question too.
Yeah,
Like,
right. It really is, because it's a good one. It's kept me more occupied, so I'm not just sitting around doing nothing, or like, I'm not saying movies are bad or like relaxing is bad or anything like that. That's good. You need to rest. You need that stuff. But it's just giving me like another sense of purpose of just to like, I just want to get better at something that's not, needed in life, right? Like financial, like jobs and all that other stuff that you have to do. And
as a dad.
Right. But like, this is something that's for me a little bit more, like I can be selfish in this opportunity of like, I want to grow for me. I want to get better so I can be the best version of myself. And that makes me a better dad. That makes me a better son, a better brother, a better friend.
Yeah.
I think those little wins of just being able to push through some hardship and then seeing how you can just be there for one another, it's just that everyday life type of change of like, okay, kind of saying the same thing, like the accountability, being there for one another.
Yeah.
I think that's what the bigger change of what jiu-jitsu has given me.
I love that.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So this is a good one. Here we go. We got a couple more really good ones.
Right.
I don't know if I want to touch this one yet.
See if I can start guessing some of these questions.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do this one then.
Taylor.
All right. You're right. Who's your biggest rival at MMA? Since we're talking about being accountable, being here for people, who's your biggest rival at MMA? Because there's a few. This gets back to the white belt bash. Just so people, we've talked about this in the previous podcast. The white belt bash, legendary event.
The tournament of the century.
Tournament of the century. Kyle wore a suit.
He wore a suit.
Kyle wore a suit. You tell me this wasn't special.
It was the first time in my life they got me to wear a button-up
he's
shirt.
been to weddings and he's had to wear suits.
I wore sweatpants and a hoodie to that wedding.
He wore a goddamn suit. And Jay is one of the original 6. I mean, there's only 6 people in the tournament. It's a small tournament.
Right. Yeah.
Only
but Jay was one of the OG 6.
Yeah.
So there's rivalries to be had, but is there a rivalry I don't know about? Is there someone you secretly hate besides me?
Yeah, besides me. I wouldn't say like rivalry, but like I think Pete and I have the most history. That's who I have the most history with.
Dude, the face-off.
Yeah.
Do you remember the face-off?
Oh yeah,
that was an intense stare.
It's one of the best. I mean, so you have Mirko Krokop Cop and Vanderlei Silva.
Yep.
You have Rampage Jackson, Vanderlei Silva. Then you have Jay and Pete. I mean, it's like top 3.
That's a top. Yeah,
I think he might be ahead of Rampage and Vanderlei.
I don't know.
He might be in the middle there.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it was an intense stare down.
Yeah,
you guys had some legitimate, like, I could feel the tension in the air.
But honestly, I love that man. Like he is like not any little bit part of me from the entire time that I've known him. Like I was like, oh, that guy's kind of a dick. No, like every part of
love
Pete.
Pete.
Yeah, he's a great
such
dude.
a nice guy, and like the
He
shit
was
talk
here
that he
tonight
has.
doing
Yes,
the cop
yes.
class. We love it.
Oh man, and he's helped motivate me a lot too. Where there's days where I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to go, and
He's like, come on,
and it's
let's
weird.
partner up.
It'd be a day where like we don't message one-on-one a lot. Like in the group chat, we'll talk a lot. But he messaged me out of the blue one day and he's like, "Hey, you gonna go to comp class tonight?" And that was one of the days where I was just like,
slumping.
maybe I don't go. I'm not gonna go in tonight. I'm just gonna chill and
There's
just
no
sit on the
way
couch.
you're missing
So
that.
out of the blue, and he just
The
texted me, I'm
rival
just like,
calls you
he got me. And I think both of us was just kind of like feeling each other out. I'm like, I don't know, are you gonna go? He's like, I don't know, if you go, I'll go. I'm like, fuck it, we're going.
You know what? I remember that day because I tried to grab one of you to grow
and
with,
I told
and
you
you were like,
nope.
no,
No, I'm like, Pete
The
and I,
rival.
we've talked this out before class.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
amazing.
The only reason why
So
I
you're
came
telling
tonight.
me Pete is the number one rival more than Ronnie, even though you've competed
Even though
with
Ronnie and I,
in a-
I was gonna say Ronnie and I have
He
more
checked Ronnie off the
history in competition.
yeah, like it's like
but
if
Pete
you
and I,
beat someone,
I've known him. Yeah, I've known Pete longer than I've known Ronnie, and
It's
Pete
kind of
was
like the
actually the one
Cubs
that.
and the White Sox. It's like if you
Yeah.
win enough, you're not really rivals anymore. I don't really know who wins.
And when it comes
That
to
one.
White Sox are pretty more like Packers
It's
Bears.
almost
we go.
yeah,
That's
It's
yeah.
really
Yeah.
not much of
I mean,
a.
it's
I
a
don't know if I
rivalry,
want to talk
but,
about that
like-
rivalry because
Yeah.
the Packers just kind of destroy the Bears.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's really not much
so
of
it's
a
not-
rivalry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Once we love Ronnie. Shout out to Ronnie, but
Yeah.
but you've tackled that horse.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't say that. It's just more that I've.
You hear that,
When I
Ronnie?
first started,
Step it up.
exactly.
We're
We're
calling you out, Ronnie.
calling Ronnie out.
We
No,
love
no.
Ronnie's gonna be on the
Ronnie's
show
yeah.
for sure.
Ronnie-
I
Ronnie's
can't
gonna
wait.
kick my ass next time we roll. Now
Yeah,
he's
he's
gonna
gonna
come
be
with a
angry.
vengeance, man.
Fire.
He's-
Yeah.
I'm not your
Yeah,
rival.
I'm not
How
your
dare
rival, you mother.
Rival Ronnie. That's his
How
nickname.
dare you? I thought we had something special.
So here's a good one. These are all funny, but if you could describe yourself as any animal, what would it be and why? Who would ask?
Oh,
Who would
man.
ask that? So I'll give you a hint. It's from the original six. One of these
It's one of
guys.
the original.
Who would-
I want to say it's Kenny.
Nope.
Sean.
Nope.
Pete.
Nope.
Fucking
Nope.
Adrian.
Adrian.
Oh my God.
Adrian.
How did I forget the king? Should have the
Adrian,
king.
Adrian, by the way, is the one who won the white belt bash. He is our king.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a 19-year-old kid at the time, 20
Yeah.
now.
And
had
he
every
earned it.
advantage.
Okay.
He scratched it out.
He wanted it so
Oh, he
bad.
did, yeah.
I
He
rewatched the
deserved
matches recently, and I watched him choke Kenny. And afterward, Kenny taps, and like he goes to like give Adrian like a high five, say good job, and Adrian's like crying, so happy, he like wanted it so bad.
Adrian just like S-gripped his hands in his throat. And
Dude,
just like,
it was
it was
brutal,
it was
man.
awesome.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Adrian's question. If you could describe yourself as any animal, what would it be and why? Which I love that question for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because your answer, I will judge it based on
You're
your
gonna.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. You're gonna. Oh man. See. That's a great question, Adrian.
Have you ever
Thank
thought about that?
No, I haven't really put too much thought.
I think about it
into
all the time.
Yeah.
Is that weird?
There's a lot of different
would-
styles. Yeah.
I want to say like I don't know. Bear is the first thing that's coming to mind. I don't know why bear, because I don't
Wrong.
feel like that's
Bears,
me.
bears are
No,
good at jiu-jitsu.
a bear is a
But
great.
yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
You
grappler.
wanna
Like
be
I'd
a
say
bear,
that's more
but
like a
I
heavyweight.
don't know if you're
but
the
I don't
bear.
think
Yeah.
that's me.
Well,
right?
but the
That's not my style.
interesting thing with a bear is a little different.
More
So
like a cub.
Chimpanzee, maybe. I want to say gorilla. Deep down inside, I
You
want to say
wish.
silverback
Yeah, sorry,
gorilla.
buddy. We
but
don't
that
have it
ain't-
in us.
that ain't
Yeah.
it. That ain't
yeah.
it.
So like yeah.
So I would say some sort of monkey. So let's.
Yeah, you got some monkey qualities.
maybe-
Your feet are very monkey-like.
Yeah. So
could-
what's a good monkey? Not an orangutan or.
I mean, very
chimpanzee.
apey.
Orangutans are good. Apes are good. Monkeys are good.
Chimpy.
Chimpy.
Jay the chimp.
a little bit.
Chimps are good. Chimps are good.
I like climbing trees, so I'd say monkey.
Yeah,
Some,
like,
some,
just a
something in the
spider
monkey
You're gonna
family.
be on him like a spider monkey.
Yeah, something from the monkey family.
I've always thought of mine like as a fox, like sly and slick, and I'm not gonna run at it full force. I'm usually a little bit more, I'm kind of sneaky. Which wait a second,
Uh-oh.
Sneaky
J.
Huh.
I believe that was your nickname.
That was the
Yeah.
original
In a second.
name. Yeah.
That adds another question that I
Uh-oh.
thought was pretty funny. Jay, why are you so sneaky? Taylor asked that one.
Underrated. I feel like you've underestimated my sneakiness.
Yeah. Which Taylor, by the
very,
way,
very
is
sneaky.
as you brought Taylor into jiu-jitsu.
Correct.
Our friend
Yes,
Taylor who
yes.
trains with us, who competed, is awesome.
Yes,
he's doing really good.
Awesome. Yeah.
He went from someone who I had, to be nice. I just didn't think he was gonna stick around. I was like, it's kind of rough for him. He's very gentle, very nice
Right,
kid.
right,
Didn't
yeah.
talk very much,
Mhm.
but now he's into
He's
it.
all
likes
in,
it, man.
man.
He's
He's
out
all
there.
in, and I love that for him too.
But why are you so sneaky, Jay?
Why am I so sneaky?
So I'll tell you the origins. Do you want me to tell?
This is go for it. I'd love to hear.
think I need to say it.
I
Do you
think you
remember
need
this?
to.
No, I don't know
Yeah,
this, yeah.
is-
Do you know why we call him Sneaky Jay?
I've heard this one.
So we call him Sneaky J because his
So
first
unfair.
tournament, that he did, which was a Grappling Industries, he went out of bounds in one match, and as he went to go reset, he started in a totally different position with like the guy's hand trapped.
Not
he
totally.
went from like a neutral position to the mount.
No, I had
armbar?
side,
Alright,
I had
cool.
side control.
It was something like that.
But he had the underhook.
And then you got your under. You started with an underhook.
So when we reset,
and like we all watched it.
I started with an underhook.
Smart man. If you ain't cheating, you
ain't
ain't
trying, baby.
Yep.
Yeah, so and we do our film studies. So like we watch
man.
when we study, which I think this is a big thing that every school should be doing if
Yeah.
they're not. But like after a big tournament, we then put up on the projector,
Which are amazing.
Yeah, you liked
I
it,
love
right?
them. I love them.
And
Those
Kyle really
films are
loved
so
it
much
because
fun.
Kyle got to bring
I bought us laser pointers.
Yeah.
and Kyle loves the laser pointer. I just play with it the whole time.
Right. Check out this person in the
but while-
background. Look at that.
Football days,
Yeah.
Yeah, but while
Watching
we're
film.
watching this, we see this, and everyone's just like, Jay, Sneaky Jay. I think that was the origins of Sneaky Jay.
I think you said it, and Kenny just
Yeah,
loved it.
Sneaky Jay.
Loved it.
Yeah.
And once Kenny puts his foot down.
Oh yeah, Kenny loves nicknames.
It's solid.
God,
yeah.
Kenny's funny.
Solidified.
Shout out episode 2, Kenny.
Yep.
Kenny's awesome. Yeah, so Sneaky Jay. So, all right, we got a few more good ones. I want to hit these up. Let's do this. How do you like/compare rolling with others in your masters division versus others in various ages and sizes? So masters versus adults.
Right.
And this is our friend Katie.
Interesting. I
Katie
like that a
asked
lot.
this question, which I like that question.
Yeah.
Because you get to do the mat. We've actually discussed this just recently for this
Right,
tournament
for
coming up.
ADCC, yeah.
We're going to Orlando, and he's got one person in your masters division, or two people now, I think.
I think there's two.
Yep.
But
And we're like, man, what do you think? Maybe do you want to go up in technique but with older people, or would you rather stay at your lower technique but with younger people? That's a really interesting.
That's a tough-
It's
yeah.
not one.
dilemma,
it's not a, It's not a simple answer.
No, not at all. Because Adrian, he's one of the younger
Young
guys.
buck.
And, oh God, he's a physical
The
specimen.
energy
right?
is just
he's-
really different.
Yeah,
at
very good,
18, 19 years old
And then-
versus
so-
40.
His physicality
So
is just, yeah.
so getting to watch him compete and just on how explosive he is and how well he was doing, but like still like if he's getting tired and he's got some tough matches, like the hell do I have? Like what kind of hope do I have if Adrian and he does well? I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's like, damn.
Well, I'll say
that's
like me and
intense.
Kyle now, you're my age too, at 32.
Yep.
So at 32, we're getting to that point where like they do make that division.
Yeah.
30 and plus. ADCC it's 35 plus, but we're at that point. It's like I see it. Why I get it now. I never get. That's how naive I am to think like I'm 30 years old. I'm still good.
I think
Right.
about
But
it
I
all the
see
time.
it.
I still see myself as like 18, but like,
Oh, yeah.
my,
The
my
reality is
elbows
we're
don't
just
feel
not-
that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
Our injuries and just the speed,
Yeah.
like
The
the
speed.
processing.
I think that's
speed.
the
They're just
thing.
so quick and so like
Yeah.
they just process things quicker.
Yeah.
Nerds.
Correct. Right. But yeah, so
We graduated before they were born.
but that's the thing. It's just like trying to keep up with their tempo and pace. It's a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
And
But what do we have? What's the advantage of being old? Is we certainly number one. Sometimes it's just decision making. Hopefully, so that tells you is like it would maybe sometimes be better to go to the younger, lower level because okay, sure they're faster, athletic,
Right.
but they definitely don't have the experience factor. And so like
Right.
you go to blue belt as the masters might be really tough compared to the white belt masters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now you're dealing with someone who has good experience, who maybe they're not fast, but they have better choices. They're making,
yeah.
They're very tactical, you know.
And I
So
would
it's a tough choice.
and
to
I would
make.
say when I first started, I would probably like say no way. I'm doing the adult vision. That's too
You
much.
stay with the older guys.
Yeah, but now that the conditioning, I feel like it's getting better, and I'm finding that balance. Because when I first started, I would gas out because like I would be too tense, and there'd be times Joey and I would be rolling. It's like Jay, just breathe, just take a breath.
Chill out,
like
Jay.
you're not in a bad spot right now. You're hyperventilating a little bit. Like
You've calmed down
just-
quite a bit, which has been good.
Yeah, and then when I kind of had to make that gauge of like, all right, calm down. Then I went a little too calm.
Okay.
And then I stopped my scrambles. So like
Okay.
anytime somebody younger than me or a little bit more explosive, they would start scrambling. And I'm like, well, I don't want to, I need to conserve energy.
just
I
let
don't
them
want to
move.
waste. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm trying to be smooth or technical. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting past.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to find that balance of when do I need to be explosive? And then how do I recover after that big explosive, whatever it may be, win it. you need to win it, because then once you win it, you can now regain.
You earn that little bit of recovery time.
That little,
and then the best athletes or the best competitors keep the pace.
They don't
up.
stop.
They don't use that to chill.
Stop.
Because then they start catching back
right.
up, but you keep running away with it.
And that's what I've been starting to play around with a little bit more too. Now it's like once
we're pushing the cardio a little bit.
When I start to win those, first of all, now I'm doing the scrambles, and like I'm starting to have some success with the scrambles, and I can keep moving to more dominant positions after those scrambles.
That's one of my favorite things, is like to be training with someone and like starting at a pace that like I feel like is appropriate for a roll, and then they explode and start going like really fast for something, and then going like, okay, like you just picked a pace, I'm going to go at that pace until I'm done at it now. Like I know you only want to do that for 10 seconds, but you don't get to decide that.
Yeah.
We're going to do that for a minute now because you decided to do that.
To turn it up.
Yeah.
So now
you want to be the pacemaker.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey. You want to be a pacemaker.
My grandma's got one of those.
Hey.
So
I don't even know. Did I answer the question?
what was the question? I forget now.
What's the
that was
difference?
good.
They're more expensive.
So I feel like there's a lot to that idea, but in general, like I think we have a general understanding that that's why there is a master's division.
Right.
They're good athletes.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. Thanks, Katie. Okay, let's do this one now. What's the most exciting / surprising submission you caught on someone?
Oh.
Exciting submission of all time
the
is
most exciting.
This is from Taylor.
Yeah, I'd have to say the side triangle, because right after we started learning, I was kind of getting into the triangle for a while there and having a little bit of success. The traditional front triangle. And then just if I had to do a back triangle or any other sort of triangle, I would get lost. Like I'm not understanding what's going on. Like my body's in the wrong position, and I would lose an arm, but like still hold on to the head. I'm like, this doesn't seem right. Oh, because I don't have an arm in. Both their arms are out. But being able to go from like I hit a T Kimura, so I got to the T Kimura position, and then I started working, and I'm like, oh, there's a side triangle here, and I was able to pop in the side triangle, and that in the live roll was just like that felt really good.
Think about that, Kyle. I mean, like, we trained for so long. How many side triangles did you hit before, you were a black belt?
Not many. Many.
Any?
Yeah.
To be honest.
I would say
as a brown belt,
maybe. And I would definitely say.
I'm just saying
definitely
it wasn't a big part of our curriculum.
It's not
definitely not in competition.
It wasn't on our radar.
I would say maybe because you know how I can finish that reverse triangle pretty good from the bottom, and so I think maybe off failed versions of that I might have locked it side, but I didn't know that was a move.
Yeah, that's my point.
Until recently, yeah. So
like and it's just hopefully this is always the case, but like the next generation of students, it all should be like you're learning shit that I wish I would have learned.
Right, yeah.
Long time. It's my favorite submission of all time is the side triangle.
Is it?
Like it legitimately is. I love it.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I remember
I never learned it. Until,
the first time Joey got big into it, he went and he competed, and he like really quickly took this guy down past his guard, and he set up the position. And I remember he looked over at me like. And I think you even audibly asked me, like, should I finish it? And I think I even said to you, like, yeah, just don't Kimura him. Like, make sure you do the triangle.
If you want, go ahead.
Yeah.
I asked you, I was like, do you want me to finish it now? Because I felt it. Like,
it was
and
right
like,
there.
it's one of those things, like, once I got into it, I know if it's working or not. And that's like any good submission, like, or not good submission, any submission that you're good at, like, you've been there so much now that you've drilled it so much that success rate, whether it's worth it or not. So I had it locked in. I looked at Kyle. I'm like, "Do you want me to finish it or not?" And he's like, "Yeah, go ahead."
The choke, but not leave the limbs alone.
Yeah, that was fun. Here's another one from Taylor, since she asked that last one. What's it like seeing Killian train?
Oh my
So
God.
we'll say this. So you talked about Jaden. Jaden is your oldest son,
right?
Who's now 16, 18, 17.
Yep.
And then Killian, who's very young. So we have a big divide here.
Gap there. 14
Killian's
years.
4.
He's 3.
3 years old.
Yes, he just turned 3 in August.
And he just started training kind of consistently now.
Yeah, because I brought him to like one class before just to kind of see.
At 3 years old, he's very young.
Very young.
Yeah. And that was like just very. I don't want to like push it on him too much. I'm like, here's just meet some new kids and have some fun. It was just like a day out of it, and I'm like, damn, he's actually paying attention. He's lining
Yes.
up.
Okay.
He's doing
I was
what,
gonna say for a
like,
3-year-old, he's like
answering.
way above it.
Like Joey would ask a question and he would
Super
answer
smart.
back.
Very competent.
And I'm
yeah.
like, oh, all right. Like he's in it. Like, okay, maybe I can.
And adorable. Like his little curly head. He's like so sweet. Just runs up, gives hugs. Like, hey.
yeah, like
Well, he was hilarious too. The one day we were doing the class, like if Jay let one of the other kids do the move,
Yeah,
with
he's
it,
like,
he'd
no.
go,
Oh my
yeah,
God,
that's
yeah.
my
Yeah.
dad. You
I
don't
know.
that
touch
was
him.
You're a
that
little
was one
worried
thing I was
then.
worried about.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing I was
That's
worried
like when he
about.
first. So he's come back since then.
Okay.
Now he's been
Yeah.
doing a lot better. But yeah, that first
Yeah,
time.
that was the very
he's
first
like,
time,
if anyone
yep.
tried to do a move on his dad, he's like, that's my dad.
Yeah,
don't
he'd get
touch my
pissed,
dad.
Yeah. It's like, don't you dare.
But is it special
Oh
for you
yeah,
to see that?
Yeah, it's great. It's I don't know. I think just being able to be there with your kid and just do any activity is just amazing. And
Would you
it's-
experience that with baseball? I'm sure
Jaden,
there
yeah.
was some special
So
moments.
it's almost like I get to now relive that whole thing with a new outlook as being a little bit older and wiser and being able to appreciate these times a little bit more too, where it's like, poor Jaden, he had the dad where it's trial and error, right? Nobody told me how to be a dad and how to be a good one.
And you're young.
And I was
right?
young,
Arguably,
and
you're really young.
so there's a lot of things that if I could go back, I'm like, oh man, maybe it was a little hard here, and I could have done things differently. But I think everything was done for a reason, and Jaden turned out to be a phenomenal kid, and like
He really is.
He's a good
yeah,
man.
great head on his shoulders, and he's got a very bright future ahead of him. Great kid overall. I can't say enough about him, but. Moving back to Killian now, it's like, okay, now I get to kind of almost relive all of this stuff again, and I even joke around with Jaden too. I'm like, any of the mistakes I made with you, I've corrected them with him. He's like, oh, thanks, Dad. Yeah, okay.
I get the same from my parents. My parents always tell me, like, I think we raised you wrong. Yeah, we figured it out after the next
We
one.
figured
Yeah.
it out
Are
after
you the
you.
oldest?
You
Oh,
paved
well,
the
so
way.
I have 3 half siblings. So my dad had 3 kids when he met my mom.
Already. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But then I'm the
Oldest of
I'm the
these
oldest
two.
of then
Nice.
the next gen. Yeah.
the next generation.
But I think it's special too that you at this point now, and you don't have to be an expert to be a kind of a teacher for Killian. But now you actually, just like with baseball, you get to kind of lead him down the pathway of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And all it takes is just being on the mat.
Yeah.
Like every dad has that opportunity, and it's like and this is not to make other dads feel bad who don't do that, but it is a definitely a missed opportunity, like a huge miss if they're not willing to just step on the mat. Because you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to be a black belt. You don't have to be even good. You don't even have to compete. But you're on the mat. Your influence on your kid is massively shifted. It's like, of course, you already have that. No matter what, your dad is special to you when you're a kid,
Yeah.
especially at that 3, 4 years
Oh,
old. You're a
yeah.
god to
Right,
him.
yeah.
You're like, man, my dad's so he's so strong.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Look, he picks me right
Strong.
up. He's the man of the world.
Strong.
You're like, my dad could beat up your dad. But you can
Don't say that to me.
Yeah, don't say that. But it's like that's so special to me. I see it all the time. We talked about it, I'm sure, on the podcast with like Kenny and stuff. It's like it's just so cool.
It is.
So you have many more fun years and even more motivation to stay in the game
right.
and stay healthy and stay on the mat because you want to be there. Just imagine Killian at 15 years old, 16 years old. And he's been doing this since he was 3.
Right.
Oh my God.
Well,
Nice.
imagine too. I mean, you.
And I don't care if he ever, you can again, he
Right.
doesn't have to compete.
Right,
He
yeah,
can,
that'd
we're
be his own journey,
But
but
man,
yeah,
like
like,
no matter
to
what, even
think-
if he just from a self-defense standpoint, that's a kid that's like,
He's gonna know some
what
stuff.
what
Yeah.
could you do to him?
Oh my
You're-
God,
you're-
yeah.
He's gonna be fine.
Oh yeah.
And if he wants to compete, I mean, it'll be, and you want to be there for those moments.
Yep.
As
Well,
you
remember
get
you
older.
and me saying how jealous we kind of were of Nolan and Doug.
Oh, yeah.
And Doug only did it like later in life, and started training with his son. And we're
Yes.
like, what a cool opportunity,
Yeah.
for them to.
Good old Doug. We'll definitely have Doug on.
Yeah, we'll
to
definitely
talk about
have
these
Dougie on.
moments.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
talking about Doug,
You know,
just-
we might only have to hook up one mic if Doug does the
Just
cast.
Doug talk?
We'll just let Doug go. I mean, Doug,
And we'll walk away. We'll get
just
food.
take over the whole thing.
And another thing.
Let me tell you.
Hold on, real quick.
Well, there's this restaurant down in Chicago.
He likes to talk, is what we're saying. Cool. I like that one. Okay, let's finish up. A few more questions, and then we'll kind of close this out, right? This is a good question from 40.
Oh,
He
nice.
said, "Have you found your game yet?"
I think it's
And to say that, like for those who don't know what I mean by that, like
I like
jiu-jitsu is like there is, everyone has a game. It's like your game. When someone says your game, they're kind of referring to it, at least in my mind, of like, do you know what you like to do?
Right.
You were just mentioning side triangle, you're mentioning stuff. It's like Do you feel like at this stage, which we'll say, Jay, you've been training for how long now? Do you know?
A year. This month has been 1 year.
It's like a 1 year anniversary.
Yes,
And you're already on a podcast?
I know, right?
Amazing.
Yeah. So like he's definitely you and Kenny probably started around the same time.
Yeah, I think
You started a little bit before
bit
Kenny.
before Kenny, right? I think
Yeah.
Kenny started in November or December.
And you have twice as many hours. That's not to dig on Kenny. It's just
No, yeah.
the reality. You have
That's
twice
More of
as
a
many hours.
positive review on you, yeah.
Yeah. You just have a lot of hours.
Yeah.
Like at what point? When do you discover your game? Like what point is that, Kyle? Like, do you think there's a time when someone should have their game set, or is a game? In my opinion, it's like there is no set. Like you're
Right.
gonna evolve.
There's
Your game's
always-
gonna change.
Yeah, I think it's always changing. I mean, I think it's just what's your game for now?
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that's a good question too. Is like, what am I doing now? Kind of touched on that a little
Yeah.
bit, where I want to focus a little bit more on north-south and the sideline. But I'd say like when I first started, my game plan was being able to get out of bad positions, right? And I think that's the main thing in what you've taught is as a white belt, like you don't want to just hunt for submissions. You
Right.
want to be good at being able to get out of bad situations. So when you are in a good situation, you're not going to be afraid to pull that trigger and then maybe end up in a bad position and be able to work your way out. So like starting from that journey from the beginning of just like
Escape artist.
making sure I become really good at getting knee to elbow connection, getting my frames in, making sure I'm staying safe in that aspect. And now it's kind of evolving a little bit more. Okay, I'm nowhere near mastering it by any means, but it's like, okay, kind of have that understanding what's the next progression and how do I just control a human, right? How do I just keep them pinned? And maybe the techniques aren't always perfect, but there's times where I understand like, okay, if I control their spine or their posture, they can be weaker in these areas. If I can get the shoulder in certain ways or hips or whatever. So like the understanding of the body kind of helps. But I would say my big game, which I think which should be for everybody, is just the RNC. Get the back.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm always
Now you're
hunting for
hunting
the
the back.
back. Yeah, that's always my
It's
big
cool to hear
go-to.
you. And that's what again. It goes back to you just being like a good student and someone who is paying attention.
Yeah.
But all the things you're saying, like I was like, oh yeah, I feel that way too.
Yeah.
So it means like you've been paying
But it's-
attention
I've
to
been
the
pay- yeah.
lessons.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And it goes back to being like a good curriculum, a good school. It cannot just be a bunch of techniques.
Mm-hmm.
I hear what you're saying, and over the last year, it just means that like the lessons, not just the techniques, but like how many times we talk about like the storyline. Me and Kyle had this whole idea about like jiu-jitsu is all about the destination towards the back.
On the way to the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like every move just is when we can't get to the back because we've been trying to get there in this reaction. So but this is a lesson that like has been said so many times throughout the entire modules and everything over the
Right.
course of a year.
Yeah.
It's like it's fun to see it implanted a seed in
Yeah,
your brain.
yeah,
And
definitely.
that like hear you say legitimate things. It makes me happy.
Yeah. It's
glad.
cool to be able to have a true jiu-jitsu conversation with someone.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And maybe that is a year, and I don't know when that is. And some people maybe just quicker than others. So like to go back to the idea of like a game, because I've talked to 40 about this. So it's funny he had but like, there's times where we talked about like what he wants to work on and stuff like that. It's like I don't know when that is. I think everyone's different. But at some point, you do want to feel like you have an understanding of the game. So it's like your game, but there's the game of jiu-jitsu.
Yes. Yeah,
I
right.
feel like I got all the way to black belt. I still don't feel like when I was a black belt, like obviously you don't know what you don't know. But I feel like I now understand the game so much more over the last 3 years than I did when I got my black belt.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel the same way or
No,
not.
I mean,
but
I still feel like
the
I'm learning.
game is not just your game.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and I can hear like you saying the things that you're saying about having a foundation built on pin escapes. I didn't think about that when I was a white belt.
Nope.
When I was a white belt, I was just trying to punch people because I was doing MMA. Like
Right,
I was just trying to, and like I wanted to do the coolest moves possible. So like you're way ahead of me in so many ways. You are the superior Joey.
No, I don't think so because I'm
Yeah.
40 figuring this shit out. You're
yeah.
14.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It is funny to me, like, because it is, regardless of age, you are still a 1-year-old
Right.
jiu-jitsu
Correct.
practitioner.
Yeah, that is true.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's cool, man. I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
That's super cool to hear you have
that's
good
awesome.
answers.
So I have a great coach. I have great coaches.
Thanks, man. Yeah,
I have
Kyle's
good
the man.
Yeah. Kyle's the man.
All right, here's the last couple. Let's do this one. One lighthearted one
All right.
from Colton.
All right.
Favorite fruit and why?
Favorite fruit. All right.
Great question.
Yeah, that is a good one. I love strawberries.
Boo.
Oh, I thought you were going to say. I thought
Sounds
you were
like
going
a
to say Richard Simmons.
favorite fruit and why.
I hesitated on my first very inappropriate joke, but I had to go for it.
It's funny.
Not
Trying
too
to-
bad.
trying to
Like,
be
we
here
have
myself.
sense of humor here. Favorite fruit.
That's a good one.
Strawberries.
Strawberries. So there it is.
So we just had to get serious.
I don't know how
Like,
to-
blueberries.
But you know what's funny is you said strawberries, then you said Richard Simmons, and I did not make the connection. I was like, yeah, he likes strawberries, maybe.
I guess Richard
I was
Simmons likes
hesitating on if I should say
strawberries.
it.
Your favorite fruit and why? Should have been like Colton. Oh, Colton. That was good. Strawberries?
Yeah.
Why?
Why strawberries? Because that's what I was given growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just there's.
I kind of hate
easier-
strawberries, I'm
Do
being
you
honest.
really?
I
Yeah,
don't-
Joey doesn't like
No.
strawberries.
I don't
It's
like the
surprising to me.
seeds. I don't like the
See, you and
seeds.
that's weird because you and I we have a lot of similarities.
Maybe not with food, though.
Crazy amount of similarities.
You put a strawberry and a banana. I'm taking banana every single time.
That's a good point.
I would take the strawberries more. I like bananas, but I would take
I
the
have
strawberries
bananas more than I do strawberries, so I feel like the reason why I call strawberries out is because they're more
It's
of
like a
like,
treat.
yeah, they're not an everyday in my house type of thing that I don't buy consistently. I'm always buying like bananas, apples, something very simple.
What do you pick? Any fruit.
Yeah.
I have to make a mention of pineapple.
more. Pineapples are really good. Yeah.
See,
Have you,
yeah.
have you ever seen how
I
you
might have to
pull
change
the-
my answer.
Have you ever seen people pull the nodules out of
Yeah,
pineapples?
that's how you test it.
why
Yeah, that's
why
real.
why pineapples?
Yeah.
SpongeBob.
Yeah, SquarePants, baby.
Which, speaking of bananas, I don't know if you heard about this, Kyle, but have you heard that there's some talks about it going extinct?
The banana?
The banana, the general banana that most people buy from a
Yes.
grocery store, there's a big problem going on. They have no solution to it with a fungus that's basically just going rampant.
Yeah, I mean they said the same thing about that colony collapse disorder with bees. I'm still seeing bees everywhere. They're still out there. So
They're still
So you're not buying what
No,
they're
I'll
selling?
start it again.
If someone look this up and let us know.
Yeah,
but I've
that-
heard this is like a legit problem that they're like in the next few years there's going to be no bananas, and we're going to be like old people being like, you remember the
Nah,
banana?
man.
You remember that thing where you peel it and you eat it? Like
I'm telling you,
kids will have no idea what a banana is. Can you imagine?
Joe, I'm
That'd be
telling you, it's
weird.
what they do
Because
with
I
everything.
eat bananas a lot.
It's like when they were telling you like all the oils from dinosaur bones, it's all gonna go away soon, and then the next thing you know, there's more oil than anything in the friggin' world. The oil industry's still booming. Yeah.
But Richard Simmons,
Richard Simmons,
Still
he's still
kicking.
out.
Still going.
he'll outlive bananas
Yeah.
and fossil fuels. Sorry, segue. All right, I had to get a lighthearted one.
Don't get me joking about Richard Simmons. It'll get really dark around here.
Get me started.
Should we finish with one more goofy one?
Please, do one more.
And then we'll finish with the last couple, good jiu-jitsu ones. Who would win in a fight, Skeletor or Cobra Commander?
Ooh, I'm gonna have
This
to.
is from Adam, by the way.
Adam. Okay.
Which is shocking. Does he like?
I didn't see him being a
Isn't that
or the
G.I.
80s
Joe?
cartoon? Yeah, G.I. Joe is Skeletor.
Skeletor.
Yeah.
And the Cobra Commander.
Skeletor is
Cobra.
He-Man. Cobra Commander is G.I. Joe.
Oh shit!
Yes,
you know
yes.
your stuff.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like you're into
that
this, right?
that was some cartoons.
Well, that's
that
an
I would
age
grow
thing,
up-
Kyle.
Yeah.
You don't know shit
I don't know
either.
either of those. Yeah.
Yeah, no, really.
No. Yeah.
I know
would've known
He-Man.
I would have known Cobra.
He-Man.
Yeah, and I would have
He-Man,
known Cobra
Thundercats,
Commander's G.I. Joe.
yeah.
Hey, I knew that.
And I would
Who wins in a fight and why?
I
And
would-
by what submission?
by what submission? Well, I guess it would have to be Skeletor because he's way more powerful.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
he's just
The commander's just commanding others.
yeah, he's just
He's just a
commanding
guy,
stuff. Like
right?
he's got an army behind him, but
Yeah.
I mean, so does Skeletor.
We're
He's got
talking
some
one-on-one
beasts, yeah.
in a cage.
So I would have to go Skeletor. Yeah.
Boom! You heard that.
Yep.
Adam,
Final
write
answer.
it
and that's
down,
the most
Adam.
just factual answer out of all
Yeah,
these.
that one has
Richard
to, yeah.
Simmons. Okay, last few. Interesting one here. This is funny that so Jacob Kern,
Hey, Jacob.
Big Frog's
Shout out
little
Jacob.
frog, Jacob Kern wrote, and it's interesting. He wrote it this way. He said, "Will you ever be a world champion?" # Jacob Kern.
Fuck yeah.
Will you ever be a
Of
world
course.
champion? I feel like you already are a world champion in my heart.
I'm already living it.
And what does
right?
that mean to be a world champion in jiu-jitsu?
In jiu-jitsu or
you know,
just-
like in jiu-jitsu, that generally means like IBJJF,
Yep.
world champion, right? Which
Yep. Gotta
there's
be-
so many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of different weight classes. A lot of different
For
belts.
the world, there's only one world,
Yeah.
but there's millions of world champions, which is kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Kind of
yeah.
goofy.
Yeah.
Do they have world champions for Masters or?
Yeah,
is it-
Masters
Oh, yeah.
Worlds.
Master Worlds,
Masters
yeah.
Worlds.
Yeah.
Oh. So maybe that might be a possibility.
goal?
That could be a goal.
We'll put it out there in the universe. He will be a world champion.
Let's do
Jacob,
it.
we'll let you know if
Yeah. Let you know in
We'll
a
let
couple
you know
of
how
years.
it goes. Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Okay, here's
journey.
a
Yeah.
little bit more serious one for you. How do you balance the work/family/training lifestyle?
That's a great question.
Because you
I
are
don't know. I
someone
haven't
you
figured it out.
train so much. Yeah, have you?
Somebody tell me.
But like it is fascinating to me when I hear about the gap between your children, the age gap,
Right.
and then the amount of work. And I feel like Jay, because I know me and Jay have become really close. We see each other every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we've become really good friends. I think of you as a really good friend.
I agree.
man.
Yeah.
And like I know that you work really hard. I see you here, early in the morning.
Right.
The only person who's here more than you is me.
Yeah. Yep.
Just
I would
being
say,
honest,
yep.
that's
Yeah, you're
not
the
me,
only one.
Brett.
Yeah.
Like
you've
I'm the only person who's in this building more.
longer than I am. Right.
But like you're here every
Yeah.
day, and you got private clients. You're doing this. You're doing that. And you still find time to train.
Yeah.
And then obviously you got a kid who's 3-year-old
Yep.
kid. You got to
Yeah.
There's dad time. You got to do.
Yeah. And that's the tricky part. Is
So
how
that's
do
a
you
perfect question from Kenny, because Kenny's got the
there
same
you go.
thing.
Yeah. He's got that same thing going on. Yeah. It's tough. I mean, because to have that selfish point, I guess, where I was talking about, like, I'm doing jiu-jitsu for me, but it's also helping me become a better father and all that. Just getting that schedule to be able to do jiu-jitsu, I think that was the hard part at first, is moving everything
Shifting your
around
life
so I
for
can,
it.
kind of shifting all that stuff around. So I don't know. It's just a grind. It's just, I don't think about it too much. I know these are the things I got to do, and then I just go do them. Right. There's days I know where I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to wake up early. I don't want to, do any of that stuff. And it's very easy to just kind of phone it in and not do it. But then if I ever do have those days where I let that thought defeat me, those days are like the worst days.
Yep.
Like you start to like second guess yourself. And then I don't want to like say depression, but it's like almost like, fuck, man, what am I doing? Like,
Yep.
why did I just do that? Like I just
I can't let
wasted.
it win.
Yeah,
You
and
can't-
it's
you can't
funny
let
how
that
it can
win.
creep in. Like you can
Right.
literally just miss one training session, and this
Yeah.
hour can really affect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I think it's I don't know. It's that mindset of being able to just fight through those negative thoughts and know that once I get there, I'm going to be able to turn it on. I'm going to be present. I want to live for the moment and be in that moment. And same thing like going home to my kids. Being able to like shut everything else in the world down and just focus in on that moment. Like
Presence. Right?
yeah, just be present. Try not to worry too much about the future. Try not to worry too much about the past, even in your day to day. Like, oh, what do I have to do later on today? That was a tough thing to balance around. Like, oh man, I got training at 7 and I got a client at 6. I only have like an hour to hang out with Killian right now, and it's like, well, I just got to do that, and not complain and try to enjoy the moment that I'm in and not worry about that next thing that's got to come up for that hour or the next day. So it's like almost like hour blocks that I just
and that connects back to competing in jiu-jitsu too. Like we talk about that, when it comes to like a tournament. So just to relate this to jiu-jitsu and how we can see how life and jiu-jitsu can kind of be related. But when you have a tournament and you see someone in your bracket or like whatever it is, but if you're legitimately not thinking about the match you're doing right now, you're probably not going to do your best.
right.
Yep.
So like, and you're thinking about like, oh, I don't want to spend all my energy because I don't want to get tired for the next match. Well, if you lose this match,
Right.
there's a high likelihood none of this is going to matter anyways.
Exactly.
Yep.
So the presence of
Yes.
and to be like, I got to worry about I'm not enjoying my time with my kid because I got this going on next.
Right.
Like, just be there. And
Yeah.
with jiu-jitsu, it's like the most. I think you're into meditation. I know
Yes.
we've talked
Yeah.
about that, and for me, like meditation's been a big part of my life, and nothing gets me. If presence is part, meditation has a couple different. Mindfulness has a few different. Reasons or you could say purposes, but one of the big ones is presence. Nothing gets you more present than being choked.
So
Oh, right.
Like,
Right.
Jiu-jitsu
Oh my
brings
God,
you
yes,
into that
it
moment.
does.
It's hard to think about your next match when that person is on your back trying to kill you. Not literally trying to kill you, but you know what I mean?
But yeah.
So one of my favorite quotes for that is Jean-Jacques Machado was on Rogan's podcast with Eddie Bravo, and he was talking about like how crazy Eddie can get, but how beneficial jiu-jitsu was for him. And he said, he goes, if you start rolling and you start thinking about a UFO, you're gonna get choked. And it was just like that's the perfect.
Talking about Eddie Bravo.
Yeah, you start thinking about a UFO. powerful, you're gonna get choked. I always
Does that
think
work
about-
for you, Kyle? Because I feel like you're kind of like that too. You got a lot of stuff on your mind.
Yeah, I'll tell people though.
But like sometimes Kyle's rolling,
Yeah.
and like me and him will be having a crazy conversation while he's rolling with someone else.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just fun to do.
Yeah,
but-
that's pretty, so
I
I will
love it.
say in that, yeah, my ADD will have its moments where it take over. But honestly, that is, and in no offensive way to anybody, but just like that's usually with someone who is
Yeah,
not able to gather all of my attention, because of the way
Wait
the
a
rolls
second.
go.
He's had
I
conversations
know
and I've
he's
been
trying
rolling
to
with
talk.
him.
He's technically he's talking shit.
Right, but I mean, yeah,
That's Kyle's
so-
form of
Wait a
talking shit.
minute.
He's a nice guy, but he's saying,
But then too, I
"You
will
got
say-
nothing on me."
I will
nothing
say
on me.
I've had. I mean, seriously, this is just how bad my mind will wander sometimes. I'll be rolling with someone sometimes, and I'll start thinking about something so deeply, and like, let's say they're like in side control, like turned away from me. I'll start thinking about something, and then I'll like kind of come back to the moment and realize like I don't know who I'm rolling with right now, and like I can't see their face, and I kind of don't know how good they are.
Like, uh-oh, what do I gotta
that-
do here?
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
definitely
so-
had that happen multiple times. in my
But I'll
life.
say that sense of presence.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
definitely draws that out. And
Yep.
just to kind of draw that full circle, because I want us to, of course, conversations are just fun to have, but hopefully we get some of these little moments out there with the podcast of, like part of the goal is just to talk about why I believe jiu-jitsu is that beneficial.
Right.
I mean, and that's to me one of the biggest things in the entire catalog of pros for jiu-jitsu, which is a lot, is presence. Like the ability to just be here, and not even just the ability to do it, but the need for that. Because
Right,
again, you don't just because jiu-jitsu doesn't force you to do that, but it does help if you're doing that.
Yeah.
If you're being because like you can be kind of thinking. Sometimes that happens where you're not fully there, and even if you don't realize it, you just maybe hindsight you realize. I've had moments where I was like, man, maybe I wasn't really in that.
Yep.
I was thinking about other shit.
Yeah.
I was not there. And MMA even more so. It's like I've had times where I was like, I didn't even want to be in there.
Yeah.
And you realize how bad that went for you.
Yeah.
and then there's times when you are just so locked in. You've had matches like that where you're
Yep.
just like, I was so into it that I don't even remember what happened. That's how much you're there. Is that it's just happening to itself.
yeah.
And that's a beautiful, moment.
Yeah.
That's hard to describe to another human through words. It's just-
Right.
But everyone's experienced with something.
Yeah.
Where that you're so there that like you can't
Flow.
even explain.
You hit
Yeah,
that
that's
flow
flow
state.
state.
In
Yeah.
that zone. Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu has that.
Amazing.
Boom.
Yeah.
Amazing.
There it is.
All right.
We got one more?
Last one.
Okay, we got one more good one for him.
These are some really good
You like
questions, man. Yeah. these are-
Short or long spats?
Boxers or
less,
briefs?
Less
No.
is more.
All right.
There's
I
underwear?
like this one.
Wait, what?
So,
what?
and this can be, we can expand on this, but who is your role model? Like people in your life you've looked up to, and this could be even when you're younger, it could be baseball, whatever.
Okay.
But who's your role model in life? And this has a two-parter, so we'll link these together, and it will kind of end there. And this, by the way, that's from Dakota.
Okay.
Dakota wrote that.
Shout
one.
out Dakota.
Shout out Dakota. And then this will kind of go into that as do you have any other favorite teammates? Not just rivals, but favorite teammates.
Favorite teammates.
So people you look up to in life, and it could be jiu-jitsu, it could be anything,
Yeah.
and favorite teammates. And this is our last little question for you.
All right. Well, I guess is she setting it up so I can like do some ass kissing over here
Yeah.
or something, right?
Yeah, I
feel
hope
like
so, man.
I feel like you've been like
Oh,
a
thanks,
huge
man.
inspiration. And
I thought you were gonna say Dakota. Shout out
Dakota.
Dakota.
Dakota's
And you're
been
just like,
such a
Dakota,
huge
you're my
inspiration.
role model.
Such a
She's
big
like,
role
"Oh,
model.
thank you."
Oh, man.
The way that when I just say hi to her,
Yeah. Yep.
just amazing.
Role model.
Yeah, role model. But yeah, I'd say, kind of getting back to earlier when I first came in here, and a lot of the people I was working with, they would always talk about you, and so just kind of like looking at where you've been and some of your successes and things that you've been able to accomplish. That's a huge kind of thing to like look forward to. Like, hey, man, this man's accomplished a lot.
Thanks, man.
It's kind of in the same field that
Trying.
I'm in, right? Like
You're doing
a
good.
lot of the hobbies and a lot of the things that you've done. It's like these are some of the things that I would like to do. Like traveling. Yeah, we're going to a competition, but like even like traveling for like getaways or like seminars and
Yeah,
just
I
going to
honestly,
different places.
I miss that. That was a big
Right.
part of my life for a while. Was
Yeah, you're doing a
traveling.
lot before COVID.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
huge. I mean, that was my job for a little bit, was just to travel, to teach,
Yeah.
and do stuff like that. And I know you, and this is to compliment you and say like, you have the ability to do that. It's just a matter of setting all those things up
Right,
in your
yeah.
life.
Now
And
it's-
you definitely had the knowledge. You have the knowledge. You have the skill set. it's
Thank
all
you.
about opportunities, and like
Yeah.
I've just always have tried to find those opportunities.
Yeah.
If I wanted to do something, I think you're the same.
Yeah,
You're a
and
Joey,
I think
man.
that's why
Us Joeys, we
I've
figure this
just-
shit out. Man.
I've like just been pulled towards that
I
whole
appreciate
energy.
it.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
It's, and that just even shows too, like the community that you've built in here too. It's not your presence and your energy. People are drawn to that. What you're putting out there. So that in and of itself is like an inspiration, and like I consider you, the best rolling partner for me. Like you've helped my game so much, right? Like just this little time of us competing, and like even you asking me like, "Hey Jay, can you come on a Saturday and just do some hard rounds with me, help me get ready?" Like you asking me that was just like, "Oh my god, holy shit,
Yeah, let's do it.
This is like Joey is
Yep.
fucking asking me to help him out, man.
That's
This
amazing.
is
Well,
this is
and
cool.
it goes to that idea too that like everyone is so valuable. It's like you might feel that way, but like you are that value too. And like
Thank you.
it's hard to recognize that when you're a white belt. Like
Yeah,
we're talking about
yeah.
jiu-jitsu in
Right,
particular.
yeah,
but,
yeah.
like sometimes you feel like I'm just a body.
Yeah.
But like everyone is so
Matters.
important, man. So important, and like
Yeah.
it's hard to explain that to people, and sometimes it's hard for them to feel it.
Right.
Because sometimes they are just kind of like, they're struggling with things, but we need those people. We need everyone in the school.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There's no one in the school that isn't
Yeah.
valuable. And I can say that with, all seriousness.
Yeah, it's true sincerity that like every single person that walks into
Doesn't
the
work
door,
without-
every single class, like it's like even the extra person that comes in, it's like, oh nice, we got another.
We need 'em.
Oh, we
Yeah.
got awesome. We
Yep.
got another person to help out. Yeah.
We need it. Well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
I'll
you.
take that. I'll
Yeah.
take that responsibility, and I'll try my best.
Be the best role model, Joe. Yeah.
I'm not a great role model in a lot of ways. I mean, so that's the thing is like a role model is like, that's a responsibility.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and being a black belt in jiu-jitsu is a responsibility.
Yep.
Being a teacher, being a, personal trainer is a responsibility.
Yeah.
It's like you're a dad. That's a That's the biggest responsibility.
Right.
What's bigger than that?
Right.
It's like, we all have these roles, that we do. And like, it's a shame for people to not try to live up to the best
Yes.
of their ability.
Yeah, step it up.
It's
Yeah.
like, step it up. Yeah, man.
Right,
That's all it
yeah,
is. And
yeah.
for me, it's like jujitsu right now in this phase of my life, which, it's just like games and jujitsu we talked about.
Yeah.
It's going to change and it's going to evolve. And it's
Right.
evolved a lot in the last couple of years. But right now, this is my role is to be the best teacher I can possibly be and also be an inspiration competitively. That's what I feel right now. It's like I want to push myself to be the best in the world so that when I come back, I can feel like people look at that and say, "Oh, good, I want to
Right.
do that."
I want to
Yeah.
learn from that guy.
I want to be like that. I want to, So that's my goals. That's my roles right
Yeah.
now.
That's amazing.
You feel that, Kyle, for yourself?
100%. Yeah, I love, that's a big thing for me about competing is, it's for myself, but I also feel like it's to show the people that I'm teaching. Like I promise you,
Kyle has that without a doubt. We generally are talking to people who train with me a lot right now, but Kyle, teaching in Crystal Lake, there's so many people who I know look up to you. I saw it at the tournament last couple weeks ago when you were, see the little kids looking up to you.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Like you are a role model, whether you want it or not.
that was a big thing for me. I mean, like that day even too. I mean, you and me literally from 9 a.m. till
Whenever we
6,
left,
7
yeah.
at night. We didn't have a moment where we weren't teaching, and so like it was
Or coaching, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
coaching.
We're running
Yes,
around.
yes, we were coaching the whole time, and then it just got to a point that like after the guy dropped out that you weren't going to compete against, I was like, we were trying to like just compete together, and I'm running around. I was kind of like, I think I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to keep coaching people, and then like all the other kids kept asking,
Yeah,
me, I'm
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I
when's
got to
your
do it
match?
for
When's your
them,
match?
I got to
All
compete so
right,
they can
yeah.
see.
When's your match, Mr. Kyle?
Yep,
They call you
exactly.
Mr. Kyle?
Yep. So yeah.
Mr. Kyle, when's your match?
Yep. Do you make
Shut
the kids,
up,
Do you do
huh?
that? Do you do that with the kids? Do they
What's
call
that?
Mr. Joey or just Joey?
They call me, hey guy.
Hey, guy,
I guess
you.
you know what? Too,
No,
it
Mr.
wasn't.
Joey? I
It
don't
wasn't
think-
something I it like started, but like I know Chuck talks to the kids like that,
Yeah.
so then I just talk to them like that.
yeah,
and
I
then
think it picks up on that. Like
Yeah.
if you're calling him Mr. Joey or Mr. You
Yep.
know, like you're calling the kid Mr.
Yep.
Mr. Steve or whatever, they'll start calling you Mr.
Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah.
I think I'm just coach.
Yeah.
Usually I'm like Coach Joey.
yeah, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Sensei, bow to your sensei.
Yeah.
That's
Bow to your
what-
sensei.
it's interesting. Yeah, I think coach has just been kind of the easiest one for kids to kind of
Yeah.
adopt.
Yeah, and
I'm a
honestly,
coach, yeah.
call me my name. I don't.
Yeah, coach,
yeah.
I don't care. Yeah,
too
I'm
much.
not. Like professor.
Yep.
Right.
It's something that's like, technically you could be called professor as a black belt, and you've been Professor Perkins since I've met you.
Yeah, since like high school. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
That was your rap name, right?
No, that was, I mean,
Come on, just say it once.
Yeah, it should have been. Yeah, Professor Percolator's from my rap name out there. Yeah.
We're gonna get Kyle to rap one of these days.
One
He's
day.
legit.
I'll just rhyme words together. Yeah, house
all
and
rap it
mouse.
is.
Oh, man, I was
Mouse,
gonna say,
douse. They all go
simple
together.
words.
Richard Simmons.
Richard
Simmons.
Kimmons. Simmons. Yeah, no, but my point is you're a great role model too, but
I
just wanna
appreciate
make
that,
sure
man.
you don't
Yes.
forget that.
Yes.
Well, I want you to know as well. Yeah, I feel the same about you, Joe. You're a big inspiration for everybody. So it's awesome to be around.
You telling me I'm your role model?
Hey, very good role model for
Well,
me, man.
I-
You inspire me. I tell people all the time, you're the main person that like you make me feel like I'm not doing enough in a positive way. It's not,
Yeah, I don't want to make you feel bad or anything. It's
Right.
not rubbing. But there's times when I'm like, man, I want other people on this journey with me.
Yes.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, hey man, I'm doing this. I'm watching this video. You want to study this with me? You want to, hey, you want to come practice this?
and you have to find
To
people.
kind of get them to jump in with me.
You have to find people. I would say like not like 100%, but like just like. If you told me to do something, I would never get like offended or feel less than or like,
Yeah.
like just like.
I think some people would sometimes.
It's hard for people to
Like you're
see.
outshining, like, hey, like you're trying too hard.
Exactly.
You don't want that person in your life.
Right.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so it's good that we can keep up with each other, and I want to feel that. Cheers. We cheers, Mikes. I want to feel that, from you too. I want you to start doing that to me and be like, hey, I'm working on this.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, cool. Let's get after
You got
it.
to push it a little bit. Yeah.
That's good. So, Jay, final thoughts about jiu-jitsu.
Oh.
How about this? I think a good finishing question to kind of throw out there too is like goals. So, like, what are your goals with jiu-jitsu?
All right. So I was kind of thinking about that a little bit, right? I know like competing wise, I do want to continue to do that, but for like big goals, I think for me is just to be able to start teaching jiu-jitsu. I think that's my next evolution that I would really enjoy doing.
Which I'll say I know without a doubt you'll be good at it
Thank you.
already. You know what I mean? Like, you don't again, like how good you are at jiu-jitsu won't really be a factor.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say good, I mean like competitively, whether you
Right.
win world
Right.
champions or whatever. None of that
Yeah.
stuff will really matter
Yeah.
for you to be a good teacher because you already have that instinct in yourself
Mm-hmm.
of being able to, you have a really good sense of your voice, your ability to connect to humans and talk to people. Your communication skills are already well sharpened.
Thank
And
you.
through your experience of being a teacher and baseball and all that stuff, like
Right.
you just
Yeah.
that's really hard. So most people, you take someone, you're like, oh, you're good at jiu-jitsu. Let's try to teach you how to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing, but I don't have to teach you how to teach. I just have to teach you good jiu-jitsu.
Right, yeah.
you know?
And I feel like you've done a phenomenal job of teaching me the story and like just being able to get that understanding from you and almost not parrot or mimic it, but like understand
Through your
what you're
language, too.
saying and then being able to take that understanding of the basics of the fundamentals of like the ideology of what we need to be doing and why are we doing these things. Like my whole movement background, like I just love, like, oh, here's an interesting move that we should do that we kind of do in jiu-jitsu, like with animalistic type of movements or primal movements, like finding those connections. And then even like teaching with younger kids of how do you now talk to somebody in almost a completely different language because they're not going to understand a lot of the terminology or the cues that you might be giving them.
You got to go really animal cues.
Yeah.
Crawl
so
like
it's
a bear.
It's like
Monkey.
different ideas of like, how do I now explain this to somebody with a little bit less knowledge, and how do I explain this to somebody that might feel like they know a lot, or so just kind of working into that aspect. I think that's my goal of jiu-jitsu, is just to like understand the sport and just being able to give that passion back to other individuals and show them.
You'll always have Killian.
Oh, yeah,
That's like
yeah.
that's
Yeah. I feel like,
that'll be part of it too.
Yeah, with Jaden and Killian both, like just to be able to just wrestle with your son.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
And
like
share that,
just
like,
being able to
gift
like
of, like-
and that's so much fun because
And not only just because one thing, like of course any dad could do that, but to actually teach them some good shit too. Like
yeah.
no
And-
offense to the dads who don't train,
Right.
but like you only can
'Cause
offer what you
Just
know.
hold your kid
Yeah.
down.
Like,
yeah.
before I
Like,
before I
it's easy
joined.
for me to pin you down.
Yeah, but-
Come on,
like you
son.
actually,
Yeah.
but if you actually know jiu-jitsu, it's like, man, you are a valuable, like you're teaching your kids something that like is as valuable as so many things I can think that dads spend time teaching them, like how to fish.
Right.
You know, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? No offense, fishing. I think fishing is a great skill because there's a legitimate
Survival.
You know,
might
like
wanna
there's
do it
some
one day.
legitimate things about that. Or, you know, swimming I think is super valuable.
Yeah.
Every human needs to learn how to swim, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But as a dad, it's like super powerful to take your kid and, you know, how to teach well. So like, it's one thing you're just yelling at your kids. Like,
Right,
man,
yeah.
how do you actually communicate?
Yeah, how do
know?
you communicate to the
You know, so
the
being a good
child
teacher
that
is going to
others-
make you a good dad. All that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it all comes full circle.
It
again.
does. That really does.
But yeah, and I'll say too that you know, we talked about this privately. We talked about like goals for, you know, as a white belt to like when should we make that jump, because
Right.
there is no really written rule on that. I don't know unless there is, Kyle, that you can tell
Be a
me
blue belt?
about like time. You know, there's a blue to purple. You know, and this is all
Yeah.
you know, IBJJF, you know, whatever, like certifications. I don't even know
Yeah.
where those rules came from, but I think it's like a 1 year thing.
Everything's just minimum requirements.
It's a minimum requirement of 1 year, I think, white
1
to
year.
blue,
And
and
I-
then blue to purple is 2 years.
Yep.
You know, and we try to follow that as best we can and whatever. But you know, so you're 1 year in.
Yeah, 1 year.
But I was like,
this month.
you know, and you like competing. I was like, I want you to get 3 gold medals.
Yeah,
I like that.
And he's already gotten 2.
yeah. We've gotten to.
We're going to Florida.
We're going to Florida.
Oh, baby.
Oh,
It's a
baby.
big tournament. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm
some cool
really
stuff,
excited.
you know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's not a rush to get through things. It's not like I want to get my blue belt quick as I can.
Yeah.
None of that stuff, you know, to me it never, you know, there's some people who I think really put a lot of stock into that. And I think it's almost like impolite of me to be, you know, to just like brush that aside and be like,
Right.
don't worry about it. Don't worry
Yes.
about it. Because some people, it's just
Yeah.
they put a value to that and they put the time in for it to feel the value of it. But at the same time, I don't want them to make that to be what is the goal.
If that's the thing that keeps them coming, then it's like, it's cool. Let that be that thing. But also that being the major goal is a little bit misguided.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
Yeah,
it's
so
just,
it's a delicate balance of
Yeah.
it.
Right.
And I don't have the right answer for it, but I think it's, you know, it's important that we, you know, we still give you that recognition of it. And you're there, man. You're
thank
and I
you.
roll with you. You're tough.
oh yeah.
You're-
Oh yeah.
You know,
I appreciate that.
and you'll get to experience that, and it'll be cool because I can remember it. Your first competition as a white belt, you were the bottom of the barrel.
Oh, yeah.
You were like pretty new into
Yep,
it,
very new.
and you faced a guy who was like he became a blue belt right
Yeah,
after.
Right
you.
after
tough,
that
yeah.
tournament.
You know,
You
it's
gotta-
like
yeah.
so like you got to feel that, and I think you were like shocked, and you're like, man,
yeah.
it's fucking hard.
Yeah,
And
because he
then-
was younger too. He's like
Yeah.
31, 32
Yep.
maybe.
So it's just a tough
yeah.
match, and like, but you did good, and you know, you survived. You know, it's like now you get to experience the other end of it.
yeah,
You're going to be the experienced white belt,
right.
you know.
You're the
be
tough
cool.
draw at the tournament.
Yeah, you'll be the
Yeah.
tough draw, you know. So you don't want to fast forward through that.
No,
Enjoy
not at
the
all.
process
Yeah.
is my
Yeah.
point.
That's
'Cause
what
before you
I-
knew it, you'll be the
Yep.
shitty blue belt.
Right, and that's it.
You're like,
Like, keep me
"Ah,
as a white
starting all
belt as
over
long as you
again."
can. And
Right,
I think
right at
even
the bottom of
Pete,
the barrel.
Yeah, bottom of the barrel all
Pete
over.
was telling him, he's like, hurry up and get your blue belt so I can submit a blue belt. I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like,
Rivalry.
yeah, there's a
Awesome. No wonder he's the king rival.
Petey.
So any last thoughts, guys? I think this is pretty good. Where are we at?
This is a good cast. 245,
Oh
probably our
man,
longest
that's
one.
the longest
Doug's
one,
gonna
Jay.
be upset.
Oh, poor
Yeah,
Doug.
Doug is
Doug
gonna
got
have to
3
take a couple of
podcasts to
naps.
listen to.
Doug is full of. He's asleep already.
Yeah, he's asleep.
He's out in
Sleep 20
Canada
minutes.
drinking
Yeah.
maple syrup. Yeah.
He is in Canada.
Yeah. Saying,
Hopefully he gets
saying
home safe.
sorry for everything, you know. Yeah.
He might just live in Canada. I feel like he'd fit right in.
Yeah, he fit in.
He
And the
would.
only problem with Canada is all the Canadians.
Boom, you got 2 good jokes today.
I'm out there,
you're
man.
on it.
Yeah.
You're on it.
Well, we'll see if we get in trouble for the Richard Simmons one.
Richard Simmons, I'm a fan.
I'm a huge fan. This
Yeah,
guy's
he's a-
awesome. I
yeah.
wonder where he's at. Wonder what he's doing.
What's he doing now?
I'll keep those jokes to myself. Well,
Any last thoughts, my friend? Thanks for doing the podcast.
I-
Again, Jay is kind of like so he's an important character to this podcast because you're kind of like
we
our
didn't really touch on
producer.
that. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you're like, not that but you help me with a lot of the videos. So if you see anything on social media, Jay's helping with that. He's usually sitting in the chair helping with the
Yeah.
camera. Who knows if this is even on? Hopefully it is.
That's
Yeah, I
right.
think
If
find
it's still
out.
running,
I
or
think
not.
honestly now after having this one, we'll get a little more interaction with you
Yeah,
in the
like,
cast.
now
We'll have
you're-
you bring
Yeah,
in
Yeah, we'll be
yeah,
like,
you
"Hey,
can be able
Jay."
to talk to me a little
Yeah,
bit more.
you
People
know?
know who the hell you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
every time they mention Jay,
Wait, who the hell's
the
Jay?
guy in
Yeah.
the shadows. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're like our Jamie.
Right. Yeah,
If
a
this
little
was,
bit.
You
yeah.
know, to
With the
relate to
J.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Jay.
Me.
Yeah.
Jay. Me.
Me?
Yeah.
Me?
All right, enough jokes. It's too long.
Well, shout out to everyone who listened for episode 6. We just got done wrapping up our podcast. We had a nice little
think we're
training
done with
session.
it. That was awesome.
So, Jay, thanks for stopping by.
Good
for
luck
having
next
me.
weekend. We're all
Yes.
going to Orlando.
Yes.
Jay's gonna have a good, Masters division. Maybe
excited for
maybe
it.
we'll drop you down to the adults. We'll see what
how it
goes on.
goes.
Yeah, so
right?
we'll see you guys on Sunday for the music bash, and
Yes.
then we will have a recap probably next podcast
sure.
about how we did out in
With
Florida.
Mr. Sergio.
Oh, Sergio.
Ooh, yeah.
We have actually, just to say last thing, we do have a bunch of really exciting guest stuff coming up.
We got
I
a
have
lot of stuff planned for
some
everybody,
really
so-
cool people coming to visit that aren't even from our school, which is kind of like the goal in general.
Yeah.
Like, of course, we're gonna talk to everyone. Anyone who wants to be on the show is gonna be on the show. But it is a goal of us to kind of get some other black belts from other locations, and we have a few people getting ready to come on. So we'll
Awesome.
talk about that.
That'd be exciting.
All right, so we got some good podcasts coming up.
So stay tuned.
Awesome, and we're
Keep
just gonna
tuned.
keep it rolling,
tuned.
everybody.
Keep it
rolling.